What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, another day, another week of the Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30 and Still Gaming. On today's show, we're going to be talking about Squadron 42 receives a 2026 release date. We're going to talk about Spider-Man 2 not getting extra DLC, and it's also coming to PC about 9 months earlier than the last first party titles have come from PlayStation, coming to PC January, I think 25th, I think is what it is. And then we're also going to talk about Nintendo Online Playtest leaked. We'll talk about that. And then we're going to watch a video from Force Gaming talking about Wayfinder. I think Brain Eclipse put that in our Discord yesterday. So we're going to watch that and see what's going on over there. If you guys like what I do here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do appreciate you very much for coming and hanging out with us. Last week we started. I'm going to obviously read all chats. I'm going to bring people's comments up, but people that are members of the channel, I'm trying to give more purpose of why to become a member and whatnot. So people that are members, we will hit those comments first from chat, or if I read, people's memberships first, and then if anyone else, if nothing else is talking, then we'll go to the regular comments and whatnot. So appreciate you. What's going on, Travis? What's going on, Krebsy, Eclipse, Kraken? Good morning, Wonder Rose, Robert Jones. Good morning. Who am I missing? Anyone? Must be Rebel. What's going on? Good morning. Thanks for showing up today, Lucas. Welcome. All right, let's see. How's everyone's weekend? Hope everyone's weekend was good. Sorry, I'm still trying to get used to this program over here. There's not hotkeys. I actually have to. Like click with my mouse and move it over, and it's a pain in the ass, to be honest with you. All right, is there music playing here? There it goes. I'm a member in spirit. Does it count? Yeah, there you go. I just read your comment. Roic says, good morning, Warwick. Jumped into New World this weekend. I was thinking of, I'm on the cusp of like trying to pick up New World, and then I was like, I don't know, man. I was like, I don't really want to spend the money on New World because I'm gonna play it. I'll put in like 20 hours, and then it'll probably go to the wayside. There's other games coming out. We're gonna play like Call of Duty's single player campaign on Game Pass. What else is coming out soon? There's one more other game that was coming out soon. We'll play Microsoft Flight Sim when it comes out later in November. We'll play Indiana Jones and stuff like that. I don't know if I have time. I'm still playing some Fallout 76. So I'm playing lots of different things. I'm playing some Thrones and Liberty. I'm playing some Minecraft with my son. We play a little bit of Fortnite. Lots of stuff. What's going on, Jason? Jason says, damn, no Spider-Man 2 DLC. How will we live? What's going on, Sarge? Oh, had a better weekend than the Mets did. Well, technically, the Mets had a really good weekend. They won Game 5. They lost Game 6. I mean, it is what it is, right? The Mets shouldn't even have been in the playoffs, to be honest with you, Sarge. So they had a good year. Better than the start of the year, I'll tell you that. I'm not interested in Stalker 2. Never played Stalker 1. Eclipse says, man, I bought New World, but I love Throne and Liberty so much. I like it a lot better, and I'm sorry, it's good for a free-to-play game. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. And here's another thing. Wayfinder, I'm thinking about picking up Wayfinder because now it's a year later. The game's coming out, coming out. I got some time for it because it's not coming out for Xbox anytime soon, I don't think. They haven't announced the actual date. But that's a co-op game. It's a single-player game. It's an RPG game now, so I can play it on my own time. I don't have to keep up with anybody or anything like that. So, yeah, on the 23rd, Jason, I believe they're doing some Fallout content or some stream to talk about it. Roic says, I like Wayfinder. I have 50 hours in it. You have 50 hours in it, and the game wasn't complete. Now that they actually completed and they're adding a different zone and more characters, or a character, it'll be a better overall. John says 30, totally off topic, but have you heard the crime boss, uh, Rockade City? This game was made for your generation. No, I know which one you're talking about. It's got all those celebrities in it. It was a piece of shit game. It was a piece of shit game. It's terrible. Dustin says, yeah, you can play it offline now. That's right. You can play the actual game offline. Why isn't this music playing? Do you guys hear music? I don't hear music. It like starts and then doesn't do anything. Hold on, here, there, all right, watch. Now it'll get out of control. It'll get really loud. Looks like a potentially fun POS. Oh yeah, no, it got terrible reviews. It wasn't very good. It seems like it would be fun though. It seems like it would be fun to play. Oh, and we are trying something different today. When we play the video later from Force Gaming, I'm using Chrome browser instead of the Opera GX, and see if it stutters as much or whatnot. And we'll also close down a lot more tabs. I think there's a problem with that. Is my audio messed up? Happening. All right, all right, how's that? Is that better? I don't know what's happening. This program, man. It's gonna make me do a lot more work than the other programs, the other people on the show and stuff. Like the audio sounds weird, right? What's it called? I'm I'm using the great sword, and I'm using um what's the other one? Crossbow and great sword. I don't like the crossbow. I haven't invested enough into it, the crossbow at all. It's not stuttering anymore, but now your muffle sound. Fantastic. Let me make sure my microphone is coming through correctly. Sounds like a 360 COD lobby with bad words. I don't know what to do because I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this, and everything is camera's fine, audio's fine. Mm, change it to that. Is that better? All right. Let me know if that's better. It sounds like it's better. It sounds better, but it doesn't sound the best. Yeah, I blew into it. I unplugged it. Um, I made sure it was plugged in. Is this thing on? Hello? Can anyone hear me? All right, let's get to story number one. It still sounds bad. Awesome. We're running with it. Non-professional. I wonder if it's because I'm using the program in Chrome this time, and the other one was running in Opera GX. And Opera GX didn't have audio problems, but it had stuttering problems. But now maybe Chrome has audio problems, but maybe it doesn't have stuttering problems. Who knows? It happened when I touched the music. All right, well, let's see. Let's stop the music. So the music fucks it up. Ah, see that, Krebsy? Thank you very much. There you go. Well, then fuck the music. All right. If you guys like what I do here, we do this Monday through Thursday. We fumble for 20 minutes about audio. If you like that, hit that like button. But honestly, we read news articles, have conversations, talk with chat live. If you're a member, you can become a member as little as $5. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We kind of push more towards the members to bring their chats up on screen. If you want to be a part of that, you can be a part as a membership. All right. So Squadrons 42 receives a 2026 release date. What is that? 10 years? 11 years? Is it 11 years since Star Citizen announced that they were going to do something? It's been like 10 years, right? It's been as a long, if not longer than no, it's got to be longer than that. It's 15. Is it 15 years since Squadrons with 42? It's been ridiculous. Anyway, okay, Squadron 42 has received a 2026 release date at this year's Citizen Con and has been confirmed for 30 to 40 hours of gameplay. Okay, the announcement came following the demo of Squadron 42 at the con, which also showcased the first chapter in spectacular fashion, featuring a prologue of space battles and introducing players to the universe. The demo wasn't without the hiccups, though. 2 game crashes occurred throughout the presentation, played on live on stage, and the second crash was comically blamed on the computer rather than the game's unstable nature. Okay. After the demo presentation, Chris Roberts went on stage and reiterated that the game was approximately 30 to 40 hours of gameplay, and the team is confident in the 2026 release window. It's no secret that Cloud Emporium Games tends to miss the scheduled release dates, so whether they stick to the release date remains to be seen. Earlier this week, though, Insider Gamer reported that some of the issues that could Imperium Games has faced in development timelines. Squadron 42 was announced in October 10th of 2012. So I was close. It was like 13 years. Okay. 12 years. 12 years. Okay. With Star Citizen and the launch of the crowdfunding campaign, according to the official website, Squadron 42 and Star Citizen have raised $729 million as of writing this. Okay. So what do you guys think of Star Citizen Squadron 42? Now, it does look impressive. It does look impressive. But how in the world can anyone, like 30 to 40 hours, you waited 12 years for 30 to 40 hours, and it could be the greatest 30, 40 hours of all time for any video game. Okay. I'll be honest. I'm on the side now that I don't want games to be 30 to 40 hours. I don't. I want a game to be 15 to 20 max for like single player type stuff. If it's open world and I can like go in and do side quests or whatever else, cool. But I don't want really long 100-hour games anymore. Personally, I just don't have the time for that stuff. I just want to play the game. But it says 2026, right? Oh, I guess 2026, that would be, it's 12, 13, 14. Yeah, it'd be almost 15 years. Okay. 15 years by the time it releases. And as Krebsy's saying in chat, it's not releasing in 2026. Yeah, I would see more like 2028, maybe 2029. Okay. And we hear stories all the time All right. We hear stories all the time about these companies now charging, or not charging. Well, they are charging way too much, but they're putting too much money into these games, right? Now, Star Citizen itself is $729 million. It's one of the most expensive games ever created. Hold My Beer says Grand Theft Auto 6. But for the most part, these games, like, obviously, Star Citizen's charging $48,000 for like ships and whatnot. People love it. But this game is never going to be complete. It's never going to be complete. It's going to constantly keep doing what it's doing. Why? Because the player base that's in Star Citizen loves what they're doing. They love the ships. They love the content. They love that they are paying for a non-finished game. They like, they like helping out the game company and feeling like they're part of the whole process. But the process is it's never ever going to be done. So by this time, I think it's funny because they come out in the conference and say that, we're finally doing it. We're finally made it. When Mark Hamill did the role for this, he was literally 12 years younger. Okay, think about that for a second. He was 12 years younger when he did this role, and we haven't even seen his role yet inside of Squadron 42. Look, I hope this game is everything that anyone ever wanted it to be. Okay, I just think it's a little ridiculous by the time it releases. Okay, it's in 15 years because they announced it in 2012, but they started it earlier that to show you some stuff, right? So it's been in development for 12, 13, maybe 14 years. And by the time it ends, it'll be like 15 years, 16 years. And that's just a little ridiculous for this. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. Are you super excited for Squadron 42? Because it's coming. You just got to wait another 3 birthdays and it'll be coming. Okay. Minimum three more years. It could be longer. Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know in the live chat. Are you guys a super fan of Star Citizen and you play it nonstop and you're like, man, I can't wait for this game. It looks phenomenal because it does look phenomenal. Okay. Let me read what you guys are saying in chat here. Let me read what you guys are saying. Let me bring up the banner so people know we're talking to chat. All right. Lucas says, I prefer a 12-hour game that I can replay once a year. Yeah, that seems like a sweet spot, right? That seems like a sweet spot. Let's see. Star Citizen. Wait, I'm trying to scroll back up here. Sarge said something here. Sarge said, you had a great weekend. Otani's $700 million 10-year contract. What the fuck is happening? Yeah. Look like a potential. Oh, you're talking about that. Krebsy says, gaming, sorry for that. Let's see. Audio's off. Already fixed that. Sounds better than 360. We went way too far up. Okay. Sarge says, baseball is broken, bro. $700 million contract. I mean, the dude he is the first player ever in the history of baseball to hit 50-50. So, we'll see what happens. Eclipse says it's been a while. Pretty much announced this when Star Citizen started. Yeah. Yeah. And $729 million later. Right. Sarge says Star Citizen doesn't have to do dick, but to be more entitlist to collect money or elitist to collect money. Krebsy says it's not releasing in 2026. Eclipse says, did anyone watch the showcase? The game crashed 5 times during the showcase. That's just gaming, right? Salty says, it was polished 2 years ago. Now it needs more polish to add another 2 years. yeah. They'll kick it down the road again for sure. Yeah, they're fixing it. They're fixing it, but then they're moving it down the line. Travis says 30 to 40 is the sweet spot in my opinion. See, I still think that's a little too long. A little too long. 30 to 40. This is what I think, Travis. 30 to 40, I think, is a good spot if you drop a game. It's 15 to 20, and then throughout the year, they drop some content, and then by the end of it, it's like 40 hours. But the game, when it launches, I think 15 to 20, I think is a much more manageable for a lot of people. You got to remember, 60% of people don't even finish the games. And that could be for many different reasons. That could be because the game itself is just not fun, or it doesn't have a good loop. It could be because it's too long and it's too intimidating for people to get into it. It could be because, it doesn't hold their hand. They don't like the gameplay. But for whatever reason, 60% of the population does not finish video games. Robert Jones says it's the launch of a full game or just Squadron 42 campaign. Just 42 campaign. Just 42. Salty says it crashed 3 times, not 5. 3 times is, I think once is enough, right? I think once is enough. Sarge says, blasphemy. We need bloated budgets filled with unperforming games. It's the only way to make money. What's going on, Chris? Krebsy says, buy the 100K Squadron 42 ship now. Did you see that they had? Did you see? Let me see if I can find it. They actually had one of the ships that they created. They had a ship at the conference. Is this it? No. Oh, come on. Where I had it earlier. It was on Twitter, and now I can't find it. They had a live ship at the conference. People were losing their shit. They're like, "Oh my god!" People are looking at that ship, going, "How much? I want to buy it. I want to buy it." The problem with this is I don't think you're the only skeptical one, right? Star Citizen itself is very Look, I played it. I played it with the free weekends and stuff like that. It's amazing looking. It really is. It really is. It's what Starfield should have been. I'll be honest with you, right? But the amount of egregious prices for it, and everyone's like, "Oh, you can earn the ships." Uh-huh. Yeah. Kylo says no salary cap is why smaller market teams never make a run most of the time. Yeah, they're just there to you got to look at sports, Kylo, as IndyCar racing or NASCAR racing, right? NASCAR racing, there's like 10 cars that are in the competition every year. Everybody else is filler. That's all it is for baseball and football and all these other places, right? There's like 5 to 7, maybe 8 teams that compete every single year that are up there, and everybody else is just cannon fodder to make it seem like it's, to get in the way so they can't make laps around them. You know what I mean? What's going on, Argus? Krebsy says 700 million contract, but Oakland had to move due to its low fan support. Yeah. Yeah. One team can pay somebody $700 million and the other one can't get $7. Krebsy says, I'm more interested in the tech than they're making of the game than the game itself. Yeah. I have a question. How many of you see this with Star Citizen, hear about what it is, and how many of you actually played it? How many of you actually played Star Citizen and you were like, I love it, but you haven't played it since? And why haven't you played it since? DJ says, so the game is in development since before your son was born. Think about that. Yeah, 2 years before, and he's 10. Okay, so it's been alive for 12 to 13 years, and it's not going to be done for another 3 to 4. My son will be in high school by the time, or middle school by the time it comes out. Eclipse says, I'm fine with 30 to 40 of the side stuff is generic. If it's like Red Dead Redemption 2, then it's completely fine with that. A lot of games, you're saying though, Eclipse, one of the better games ever created, right? That's done it correctly. A lot of games just kind of bloat it with a lot of stuff. Salty says, I'm not super fan, but I bought one ship. I watched development from the sidelines from Star Citizen. In scope, it's too big. Considering how many basic systems they need to add just to make a fun game loop. Roadkill says, "Yeah, I go a lot on NASCAR races with my uncle. Yeah, there's just a lot of cars on the road, but really, there's only 10 cars really competing. It's the same thing with sporting basketball league, hockey league, football league, baseball league. There's a lot of teams, but there's only a handful of teams that are competing. You might get one that just is just good, right? Like when Oakland paid them really low and they made a run for the playoffs and stuff like that. That when you have a team like that, it's just talented individuals, but at the same time, then they get traded off to other teams. Marlins did this back in the day when they won the World Series both times. Win the World Series and then sell your whole team off. Jason says, I don't even know what type of game Star Citizen is. Right now it's just an open world, go explore. There's a bunch of stuff. people people complain about Starfield as there's too much to do. There's not enough to do. Same with Star Citizen, unless you want to, but people farm for ore and then they can sell it. It's because it's a multiplayer game, and that's the difference between Star Citizen and Starfield, right? If Starfield was co-op like Star Citizen, I think a lot of people would be okay with it, like a No Man's Sky, where they can trade with people, can play with people, can hang out with people. But Star Citizen right now is just really just a wide open game that's co-op. It's not complete. They're constantly changing stuff because every time they see someone else working on something, they're like, "Oh, we should put that in our game." Kraken says they just need a little bit more money. Yeah. They need at least $1 billion. Once they hit $1 billion, they'll be fine. What's going on, Mo? Salty says, I played it previously, but now it's uninstalled while it becomes a game that actually functions like most modern games do now. It'll be there in my retirement. Back in my day, I played this game 47 years ago. And now it's finally done. I'm going to play it. I'm going to put my headset on and I'm going to see. And you're dead and you get to never play it. You never get to play it. You're just going to die waiting for this game to be done. Travis says a real question, but do companies not realize that every game is competing for my time, making a huge game that might turn me off is a metric that it's also a kind of thing that so they know. They do. This is why they're making their games bloated. This is why game companies are coming out with multiple games that are big bloated games, because when you're done playing this bloated game, you go play this bloated game in there. You're not playing someone else's bloated games. You're only playing their games with their microtransactions and the DLCs and the battle passes and the season passes. Okay. That's what's happening there. Then you have the other side, right? So the people that are not like Sony, Xbox, and Nintendo, the third-party companies that are just making games, right? They're trying to keep you in that game as long as possible so you don't go spend money in other people's games. But Xbox, PlayStation, and maybe Nintendo in the future, Game Pass is trying to keep you in the ecosystem of Game Pass. So not only do they want you to stay in Game Pass, they want you to, pay monthly for Game Pass, but then they also want you to pay for the DLCs in Game Pass for the games that you're playing in there, or the season passes or whatever, to keep you in there as much as possible. Because when you're done playing this game, they're like, oh, here comes another game that's coming in. So there's no difference between what Ubisoft is doing with Ubisoft Plus, because they had a Pandora leading into Prince of Persia, which led into Skull and Bones, which led into X Defiant, which led into Star Wars, which led into, you know what I mean? Now, X Defiant's a free-to-play game, so I kind of threw it in there because it's Ubisoft. But you see what I'm saying, right? Like multiple games. If you're on Ubisoft Plus, you can play these games first. You can play them longer. You can play them. Oh, DLCs are coming out. So they're trying to keep your time. They know your time is the most expensive thing, or the most profitable thing, I should say. Eclipse says, man, I'm so excited that they woke up to Castlevania coming to Vampire Survivors. That made my whole day. Not going to lie. I was looking forward to today because of Wayfinder. Did they say anything about or show anything about it? I saw a blooper, like a blip, but I didn't see anything about it. Because he says Star Citizen obviously he's waiting for the 9060. Yeah. And Eclipse says the problem with Star Citizen is every time I think something they want to start doing, they never finish anything. That because they always like, oh, look at that. You see that? Let's put a battle royale in there. Oh, they're doing this other thing. Let's do what Helldiver's doing. Let's put it inside. They do everything that everybody else is doing because they don't know what they really want. Just make the game. But if they finish the game, look, if Star Citizen ever finish, well, then they're done. Right? But if they keep leading you on, if they keep baiting you, if they keep that carrot in front of people, then they're going to constantly make money. This is why they're not finishing the game. This game will never finish. It will always be the thing. Squadron 42 will be finished, but Star Citizen itself will not ever be finished. Eclipse says it's their biggest DLC yet. I think it has over 40 weapons, 20 characters, and a map for $4. What? $4? Get out of here. That's too much for my price tag. What's going on, Kuda Papa? At this point, Ubisoft should be paying me to play their games. Well, technically, you could get that if you ask for their, if you're a content creator, they would pay you to advertise it and then play the game. They could. You could do that. All right, so we'll see. Let me bring up the next story, which is Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. All right. Ron Slusher says Star Citizen is basically a stripper, just a tease, and you can't take it home. It's good, Ron. It's good. I'll give you 2 points for that. 2 points for that. Okay. All right. If you guys like what I do here, we just cover news stories, have conversations with chat, keep you entertained for the rest of your day, for a couple hours of your day, I should say, not for the rest of your day. Unless you want to watch me over and over again, there's plenty of content on my channel. But hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right. All right. So, no plans for additional story content for Spider-Man 2 Insomniac confirms. Dun, dun, dun. What happened? I thought they were going to come out with the same DLC content they did for Spider-Man 2018. Okay. In a blog post outlining the arrival of Spider-Man 2 on PC, has confirmed by Insomniac Games that the title will get no additional story content, and the release of Spider-Man 2 on PC, which is happening on January 30th, okay, will bring an all-new audience of players in the game. They can also soak up everything added thus far, but there's no plans to add any more story content. Well, obviously, I mean, there was rumors. Again, I like how we're talking about Spider-Man, but Call of Duty's advertisement down here. Obviously, they were talking about, Spider-Man, breaking up Spider-Man 3, whatever the next Spider-Man games, into 3 parts because costs were getting too high. They didn't know what they were doing with this. So, obviously, I don't think they want to spend more time making a $40 piece of content where they can take it, bring it out, and charge $60 to $70 for that and make it a standalone game. You see what I'm saying? So instead of making DLC for $40, they make DLC and make it a full-fledged game, and then sell it to you, right? So they did a test subject. They did a test subject because Spider-Man 2018 came out, did wonders. Miles Morales came out. Oh, plus they had all the DLC. They had all the DLC for Spider-Man 2018. And then Miles Morales came out. And it wasn't a full price game. They only charged $50, but they charged $70 if you got with Spider-Man 1 from 2018. And that was supposed to be a DLC as well. But because PlayStation 5 came out, they were using it as a marketing material for PlayStation 5. So Miles Morales was DLC, and they made it into a full-fledged game, but didn't have enough stuff to charge full price. So they had to combine it with Spider-Man 1 to get $70. And it was a good deal for people coming out on the PlayStation 5, right? Then Spider-Man 2 comes out. It's a standalone game, as is. Both characters are in there. And now they're not doing any more story content. We heard earlier in the year that the multiplayer type of game that was supposed to happen if it was DLC that got backed down or canceled. Maybe they're putting it down the road for something else. Venom, that people thought was going to be a DLC, was probably going to be a standalone game now. So lots of rumors of stuff to go around here, but that would make sense why they're not adding the DLC. Okay. It says shutdown. It has been a year since Spider-Man 2 was released, and for the most of its time, fans of the web-slinging open-world game have been asking Insomniac when the DLC is coming. The question is definitely answered recently by the developer. He says, while we have no additional story content planned for Marvel Spider-Man 2, we're delighted to bring you previous release post-launch content of the PC version, including new game plus, new suits, new color variants, photo mode features, and more. This goes on to explain that this isn't the end of the road for Spider-Man 2, as costumes collaborations are on the way. Okay. The first Spider-Man was released in 2018 on PlayStation 4, and the game received an expansion not long after launch, dubbed The City of the New Never Sleeps. Eventually, Insomniac published a spin-off Spider-Man Miles Morales, and there's no indication that the content like this will be made for Spider-Man 2. Now, recently, it was also suggested that Insomniac is now leaning in heavily into development of the Wolverine and reportedly a new teaser of trailers and will be revealed before the year is out. Now, are you disappointed that Spider-Man 2 will have no additional story DLC release? Let us know in the comments section down below, or let them know in the article that we just read from Insider Gamer. Obviously the company needs to make more money, right? And in my opinion, this is exactly why they're not giving you more DLC, because why charge $40? Why charge $50 when they can charge you a full $70? Now, yes, Insomniac is busy making Wolverine. They're on the finishing touches, hopefully, of that. Maybe it'll come out before Star Citizen 2026. Okay, so we have Wolverine coming out. Supposedly you have a Venom game. Supposedly you have a Carnage game. Supposedly you have another Spider-Man game coming out. So there's like 4 games, one company working on all these things. So they have to prioritize stuff. And, even though Spider-Man 2 sold really well, it didn't sell as well as the other ones. Okay. Hence why I think they're moving it closer on PC, because a lot of people look at this and say, well, see, it's coming. It's coming more closer to day and date, which it is. Okay. And it will be day and date down the road. I don't care what Herman Holtz says or Hiroki Totoki says, because just 4 years ago, games were never coming to PC. Never coming. That's what people said. That's what Jim Ryan said. Okay, that wasn't their strategy. They weren't going to bring it, and then it was. Okay, then they started bringing Horizon Zero Dawn to it. Then they moved over MLB The Show, and then people started making excuses for Sony while they made it, even though MLB The Show, when it came over to Xbox that year, it was the most successful MLB Show game to date. We're selling over 2 million copies at launch, or 2.5 million copies or something like that, which is more than they've ever sold before. Okay. So that wasn't a live service game. It's a MLB, but obviously they're updating it and stuff now. So that's day and date on PC, Xbox. Actually, it's not on PC. It's on Xbox and PlayStation. It made more money than it did before. Then PlayStation decided to change the format and say, hey, we're going to live service, and only live service are coming day and date on PC and PlayStation. And they said, we're never going to go below 2 years. And then here we are this year. It's at 15 months now. Okay. And now, of course, Herman Holtz and Hiroki Totoki, that just came in earlier this year, saying that this is their plan going forward, that their first party titles and whatnot, it's on a case-by-case basis, and it's going to be closer to a year. It could be within a year to 2 years, and this is the first game that's a first-party title sequel that's coming out in 15 months instead of 24 months. So, as I've said, and I'll stick with this, only time will tell. Games will become day and date across all places. Even when the PlayStation 6 comes out, and when they talk about all the new software or the new hardware that's coming out for what they're doing behind the scenes with the PSSR, the pisser, okay, and bringing Xbox over, or I'm sorry, bringing PlayStation over and using that technology where they can make 4K 120 frames per second, or they can use 8K for 60 frames or whatever they said. Sure, they want to make the sales as much as possible, and Spider-Man is that brand going forward. If it's Wolverine, if it's Venom, if it's Carnage, if it's Spider-Man 3, whatever it is. But day and date will become closer and closer. The test subjects have been out. Helldivers launched the live service game, very successful for them. Okay, very successful for them. But then they looked at God of War Ragnarok. Okay, came out, didn't sell very well on PC because when games come out at a later date, there's already games, brand new games coming into the market. Okay, every game is in competition. They're all getting bidding for your time and money. And if Spider-Man 2, the hot Spider-Man 2, when it launched, would have made a shit ton of more money if they launched, in my opinion, if they launched it on PlayStation and PC at the exact same time. But because you launched it on PlayStation, it makes a shit ton of money on PlayStation, but then it waits the 15 months to come on PC, and then other people are playing other things, right? When this one drops, just a few weeks afterwards, Monster Hunter appears, on PC and other platforms. They might be playing that. They might be playing whatever else game that comes out because that's brand new, not a game that's already 2 years old in the background, right? So people can say that, nope, Sony said they'll never, because this is where you guys stood, okay? You guys stood at one point, said that they would never, ever come day and date. And then they did. And then the goalpost moved. And then it was, well, it's live service games, and that's day and date, but they're never going to do sequels. And then the sequel came closer to 15 months instead of 24 months. And these are all tests. These are all tests because at the end of the day, Sony wants to make more money. And if they can make more money on the day and date than waiting 2 years and get down the line, they're going to do it. But again, these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think about the Spider-Man 2 not having DLC coming out? Why do you think they're not having DLC? And then 2, do you think day and date is going to shrink even more and more? And will it get into that year mark? Because remember, never coming. Then it did. Then it's at 15 months. Will it go below the 15 months and go to 12? And will it go below 12 to become day and date? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know in the live chat. These are my thoughts. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And if you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. And I appreciate you. All right. Let me see what you guys are saying in the live chat here. Let me scroll back up. All right. Travis says Spider-Man 2 didn't need DLC, and all the people asking for it are nonstop didn't deserve it. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. Spider-Man 2 didn't need DLC, and all the people asking for it nonstop didn't deserve it. So you're saying the people that love the game, that love the game on PlayStation, that wanted DLC, don't deserve it? The people that supported the game that wanted DLC? I'm confused. What's going on, Mr. Luke? Eclipse says, what happened if they wanted to sell everything at $70, just like the rumors of three parts for $70 each? Yeah. And I think that's the reason they're not doing DLC, because why sell it for 40 when you can get 70 for it to make it a full-fledged game? Jason says the Venom game that was supposed to come out next year was probably DLC. Sure. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Why get $40 for the game where you can get 70 for it? Travis said it came out on the 28th, and by the 30th, people were asking for DLC. It's ridiculous how these people think they deserve it the second they want it. Well, you're talking about your fellow PlayStation fans out there, okay? I mean, when you set the tone, Travis, when Spider-Man 1 came out in 2018 and it was a fantastic game, people loved it, and then they gave us 3 expansion packs afterwards, they set the tone. The people didn't set the tone. The company set the tone. The company said, yeah, we're putting DLC out. Right? So you can't blame the fans for wanting more when they gave you more before. Travis says Wolverine will be shown at the Video Game Awards. I can almost guarantee it. Almost guarantee it. I mean, That's not really a prediction because we know the game exists and we know that the Video Game Awards show does big announcements. So, World says it's cutting DLC means a bigger story and branch off games. I'm okay with it. But if it's a half-ass it, I won't bother buying. Credit says there was 3 DLCs planned, Beetle, Carnage, and Spider-Verse. Carnage would have also made it into the Venom's game. Spider-Verse was going to be attached to the 3rd Spider-Verse movie, and it was also has since got delayed. Krebsy, what I love about what you just said there, you talk about it like it's official knowledge that everyone has. When they haven't come out and said any of that. It's just kind of pieced together rumors. Kudapapa says day and date coming soon. It's been 4 years since they went from never to 15 months with day and date in between with live service games. So within another 2 years, 2 to 4 years, I see day and date. Yeah. Travis says, is anyone here getting Indiana Jones day one Xbox? Because I want to see how it'll be before that. Read your question again, Travis. read your question again. Of course, people on Xbox are getting it day one because it's on Game Pass. Of course. Even if they don't want it, they're going to get it. Krebsy says Ragnarok on PC had issues because of stupid PSN requirements. Same will happen with Spider-Man 2 if it requires it. I think it most likely will require it in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully they're not that dumb. Rogue says, I would say 3 months tops just to give them time to make sure it's optimized well for PC. Okay, so Roic, you're saying they'll lower it to 3 months, like the max they go is 3 months. The max they go is 3 months. I can see that. I can see that. You're saying it won't be day and date, but 3 months is the minimum that they'll do. Which part's the horrible take, Worlds? Which part is the horrible take? Like my take or someone else's take? Travis says, I'm a PlayStation player and fan, yes, but it doesn't mean I'm a rabid idiot who, as soon as a game is out, I beat it day one and start saying, where's the next one? Yeah, but that's what fans do. What are you talking about? This is the type of people that watch movies and want to see the sequel. Yeah, they have to wait 2 years for it, but they're like, oh man, I can't wait. I want to see the next one. This is the same people that watched Marvel films back to back to back to back. These are the same people that binge watch stuff on Netflix and all their other places. If a game is good and people want it, that's exactly what they're going to ask for. Like, oh my shit, this game was fantastic. I can't wait for the sequel. What do you mean? It has nothing to be like a rabid idiot. It has to do with someone that's a fan of the game, show, book, movie, and is like, man, this is a good thing. I can't wait for the sequel. Jax82 says, bought Spider-Man 2 day one. It's been a year since it released and going to be PC next year. Wow. That was quick. Yeah, it's the fastest one, Jax. It's the fastest one besides the live service games. It's the fastest single player first party title to come to PC. It will be 15 months when it comes out. Usually it takes about 24 months. Kyle says they just plan on making Venom game with the same map and gameplay for full price. This is why there won't be DLC. That would be terrible if they just have the two same islands and they just make it that. Sure, I get it. It's a leak. Krebsy. But what I'm saying is, it's just that. Like, we don't know if it's official. The way you spoke of it, was like it's official, right? It's like Sony's mentality is that everyone will buy the console and play the game. Now they're realizing that some people just won't buy the console, but will buy the game. Right. Now, this is why they're doing a test, right? They're going to see how many people buy Spider-Man 2 on PC. And if it goes well, let me tell you, that 15 months is going to get to 12 months, which is going to get to 10 months, which is going to get to 9 months. You see what I'm saying? Kuda Papa says, "There, it doesn't matter. Day and date can be done. People don't understand how development and engines work." What's going on, Altern? Altern says, "So it's fair to say that the next Spider-Man game are going to do 20-hour experiences, super short for $70 going forward. It's fair to say it, right?" I think it would be fair to say, not confirmed, but I would say, and I don't think the 20 hours is a bad thing, though, right? Now, I do think it's weird. Well, not weird. I mean, I understand where they're going. If they do that, where they take the DLCs and they turn them into full-fledged games like a Miles Morales, because Miles Morales was shorter. It wasn't supposed to be a full-fledged game. It was supposed to be the other DLC that came out for one, but then they moved it into its own, but to use it to push and promote PlayStation 5. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them doing stuff like that. But they knew that it wasn't a full price game. That's why they made it $50. Okay. That's why they made it 50 and didn't make it 60. And then they weren't going to make it 70, but they were also introducing the $70 at that point as well. They were like, well, let's give them Spider-Man 1 plus that to make it $70 to get people used to it. Elena says, "I 100% all 3 Spider-Man games in 2 days, and I want more." Yeah, that is the norm of people going, when I played Red Dead Redemption 1, I was like, man, I can't wait for a sequel. When I was done with Red Dead Redemption 2, I was like, man, I can't wait for a sequel, right? Honestly, I'm not going to be sitting there like, yeah, better get used to it. Like I understand it's going to take years and years, but as a fan, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait for the sequel or more DLC. Right now, I was a little upset that they didn't put a Undead Nightmare in Red Dead Redemption 2 because they did it number 1. And when you give this something the first time and then the second time it comes around, it's not that we're like expecting it, but we're like surprised that it didn't come out and be like, well, how come that's not happening? Jason says they don't deserve it. 30. Who doesn't deserve it? The PlayStation fans? I don't know what that comment's for. Is that for the people that don't deserve the expansion? Is that what you're saying? Eclipse says, "I really think that they will do day and date one day. I mean, they have investing so much in their porting companies. They have. I see like the X-Men game. The X-Men game that they're working on down the line. Again, there's a lot to go on by this, okay? But I can see the X-Men game once Wolverine comes out, once other first-party titles come out. I can see the X-Men game down the road based off the sales numbers of everything else that happens, that they all of a sudden go day and date, okay? Now, there was a report, right, that I read this weekend where they said that 30% of people that didn't own a PlayStation before bought it for the first time. And that's a great stat. 30% is a huge number of people that didn't own your system before, but now they do. But the other stat they don't tell you is more than 50% of the people that own a PlayStation 4 haven't moved over to PlayStation 5. Okay? So there's still 50% of the people that owned in your ecosystem didn't move to the PlayStation 5. Okay. But then you got 30% of the people that did buy that came over to PlayStation. Okay. Well, they want to sell more consoles. Well, great. You got 30% of the new people to come in, but you lost 50% of the other one. So the 20%, you need 24% of that group over here that owns a PlayStation 4 to move over to the PlayStation 5. Okay. And even then you're just back at normal. Okay, because you still have to get the rest of this group over here that didn't buy the remainder 30% of PlayStation 4 to move over here to get a bigger percentage. Okay. They want to sell more consoles. Well, how do you do that? Okay. Their saturation point is the max of consoles. The max console is what? 122 million, 125 million, whatever it is. That's the max. 100, what is it? 144. Let me get the number. Let me get the number. Let's see. Best-selling consoles. PlayStation 2, 155 million, right? That is the most ever, 155 million units. Okay. PlayStation 4 is at 117. It's probably at like 122, 125 or whatever if they update it. Okay. Even if they get the rest of the people to come over, okay, they're still at just under 100 million. Okay. So where are they making this extra money from? Either they have to put their software, Sony has to keep putting it on PlayStation 4 because those people aren't moving, okay? Or they have to put their software on PC to make the difference up. And which one are they going to do? Right? I get they want people to buy the console, but that's a hard sell. There's a minority of people that want to buy a console. The majority of people on the planet Earth have a PC of some sort. If that is for gaming, if it is for laptops or whatever, there's more people buying computers and laptops than are buying consoles. These are just facts. Altern says it's Spider-Man coming early on PC because Concord failed and they need to fill the financial gap. Concord left. Potentially, that could be. That's not a bad speculation there, Altern. Kyle says makes sense. Why they didn't let you play Venom really at all. Kirby says during the development of God of War Ragnarok, Sony adjusted the development pipeline to allow PC ports to be done quicker. This applied to all first-party titles. Sure. And 4 years ago, before they even announced, what was it, March 21st or something, May 21st, when they first announced, I think it was March of 2021 or 2020, where they announced Horizon Zero Dawn, coming to PC. That was the first one. Well, before that, they were never coming to PC. Never. That's not their business model. They're only making it for consoles, right? And then it did. And then it was, well, they're never going to be under 2 years. And then they did. And then they're only putting it out there for live service games. And they're never going to go third party. Well, all of these things are all false because they've put it on PC, they've put games on Xbox, they've put games on Nintendo Switch, they've put games on a day and date for live service stuff, and now they've lowered the requirement to less than 2 years for Spider-Man. So who's to say that they're not going to lower it again under 1 year? Apollo says, there's no way that half the player base was in the chat. Also, how many people of those people were just being trolls? Everyone I know or creators I watch play did nothing close to that. Oh, you're talking about like asking for like sequels and stuff like that? There's a difference, though, of someone being excited about a game and asking for a sequel and then someone just being entitled. They need to give us a sequel. They need to give us DLC. Like, I don't think that's happening. I think that's like very small group. Kyle says, if it is the case that Spider-Man's coming early to PC, I just hope it's optimized. Oh, they've done a really good job so far, right? Didn't they? Mr. Luke says Sony are fighting themselves. I'm assuming that's what you meant to put. I think you tried to fix it and then still didn't fix. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a small minority of players and trolls that say that they're entitled to DLC, right? Again, now even if those minority of people that are asking for DLC because they feel entitled, again, they didn't set the expectations. Sony did with the first Spider-Man. Kyle says, I personally don't think Sony games will go to PC day and date sooner. Yes, or date sooner. Yes, but I think they want to do a double dip of the game, kind of like Rockstar does with their games. It's a good example, Kylo. It's a good example with Rockstar does, but the difference between Rockstar and Sony is that Rockstar is just selling software, right? They're just selling software. Sony is selling software and hardware. And for their first party titles, when there's a saturation point, there's no saturation point for Rockstar. They have literally the entire market of Xbox and PlayStation. So if there's combined total, there's 100, 150, 200 million units out there. Well, then they have 200 million units to sell. Plus, down the road, they're like, oh, PC. But they're also selling one of the best IPs in the industry. Okay. So they're a little different on how they can, push it out than what their first party titles are for Sony. Sony is happy. Maybe they don't need 7 million or 10 million day one sales. Okay. But they do want to make more sales. Well, how do they do that? If they can't get people to buy their system, again, if people come into the ecosystem of PlayStation and there's 120 million people that have a PlayStation 5, cool. But if that number doesn't go up because people are not buying PlayStations, you have to go out and find people that want to buy your game. You see what I'm saying? They either have to go and put it on third-party sites or PC. And if they're not making that money up front and they're trying to trickle it out throughout the years, I'm not even reading what Travis is saying, so I'm going to skip a lot of your guys' channels that are comments that are responding to him. Mr. Luke, Sony are fighting themselves to keep simple gamers buying hardware than they are Nintendo. Don't care, try to whatever, and still kill it. Microsoft want you just to subscribe to play anywhere. Right. So Microsoft is taking it where you can buy games, you can basically rent the service, you can play it anywhere. They're just trying to nickel and dime. It's like Office Space. You take a penny here, take a penny there, you're going to be a millionaire type of thing. Sony is dedicated for their consoles, which is not a bad thing. It's what they're doing. But if they can't get their sales up, then they got to adjust. They have to adjust. Kyle says it depends on the game. GTA, Red Dead, Skyrim really makes worth the money. Only games that double dip on it. But you're also naming such few games. You're naming outliers, not the norm. As Mr. Luke brings up, Nintendo, they have 100. What do they have? Nintendo Switch has 143.42 million copies out there. The Switch, right? Their games, 40 to 50% of their player base is buying their games. 40 to 50% of the people are not buying the PlayStation games. Nintendo on that front is much better, right? 60 million or 70 million people have bought Mario Kart. 50 or 60 million people have bought like the Mario game, or 30, 40 million people have bought the Zelda game, right? They wish they had those type of software sales. Salty says, right now, Sony has a metric for consoles and PC sales. It's not worth it a day, not worth it day and date on PC side. I doubt they'll do it personally. I wish they would. I think they will down the line. But again, there's a lot that goes into that, right? Me saying it, obviously, it's like I could throw a dart at a board and say it, but the reason I'm saying it is because lots has to happen. If PlayStation doesn't sell as many consoles as they want, they have to shift and how to make money from that. So they would go towards PC day and date, right? If they do sell a lot, then they'll stay the same and go, all right, 15 months is what it is, right? But if Spider-Man 2 comes out, and all of a sudden they sell, let's say, another 5 to 7 million copies, okay? That's 5 or 7 million people that didn't buy a PlayStation or didn't want to purchase this game on a PlayStation if they own a PlayStation because they knew it was coming to PC, right? If they could have made 5 to 7 million more copies sold day and date when Spider-Man came out, so instead of saying they sold 5 million units, they could say they sold 13 million units. That's huge, especially when people are looking at it going, wow, 13 million people bought this game day and date. Must be really good. And then more people go out and buy it. It does this like snowball effect, right? Instead of 3 million people bought it, 5 million people bought it a month later, and then 2 years later it comes out on PC. El Dente says, it's like me expecting the next game from Bungie won't have DLC. Right. Like if going back to the DLC stuff that you just brought up, right? If a game had DLC and pumped out DLC for you, and then all of a sudden they come with a sequel, and then they don't make DLC, you'd be like, well, where's the DLC? You'd be like, you untitled little shit. How did you expect them to have DLC? It's like, well, because for 10 years they had DLCs for every game that they came out with, right? I didn't set the tone. They did. They did. Now, let me scroll down a little bit. Altern says, one of the issues, in my opinion, is that console has is that they want to make all the live service, but still charge to play online with friends. I'm so over that, and this is why I went to PC. Yeah, I mean, you save you save a shit ton of money, literally a shit ton of money on it for not paying what was it, extra $60, extra $80. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's $300, $340 a year, or for the lifespan of that console or whatever. Right? How many more games could you buy? World says, I'd also be happy if they added the ability to play as Venom in the world. Don't need him to have a story or side quest, just mess around with. Altern says, to be fair, some of these Nintendo sales are the same people buying different editions for the Nintendo Switch, Switch Mario, Zelda, Crazy, whatever it is. Whatever the sales are, Altern, they're still selling, right? I mean, I'm the same person that bought Grand Theft Auto on the one, or I'm sorry, the 360, the one, I have like 3-4 copies of Grand Theft Auto, but they're selling, right? It doesn't really matter where it's coming from. They just want more sales. Well, how do you do that? Hence why Sony's business model is taking the same people that have bought the PlayStation 5, sell them the Portal, sell them the VR2, right? They like what they like. This is me not making fun of them. PlayStation knows a small percentage of people will buy the VR headset. They know that people will buy the Portal. They know that people will buy the PlayStation 5 Pro. Those are the people making up the cost that other people aren't coming over to buy the console, right? So for 2 million people that bought the VR headset, that's covering 2 million people that didn't buy the PlayStation 5 that move over from the PlayStation 4, right? Those people aren't moving over. So how do we make more money? Well, we know that these people in the ecosystem are going to purchase the headsets because they like what we do. So let's give them what they want. Squad Water Bear. Yeah, we're talking about the PlayStation, Spider-Man, stuff like that. Salty says, true, but the Metacritics have to support that in order for it to be a viable option for Sony. Tech is getting better and faster, so one day I'm sure it'll happen because it's cost effective. Oh, sure. Look, I push back on people that say it's never going to happen. Okay. And if that's the minority of the people or the trolls that come in and say that it's never going to happen, they're wrong, because it is going to happen at some point, because all these decisions are based on business decisions, making more money, right? Water Bear says, don't worry, on PC and the mods and additions that will be added will be amazing. Oh, I can't wait for people to see what they do. Where you have like, you know, they'll take any Marvel character and make you swing through the city with the mods. Eclipse says, I have a PlayStation 5 and a PC. If I buy a game on PlayStation 5, I'm not getting it on PC. I'm sorry. I already played it. I'm not playing it again. And if I don't get it on PC, when it's like $15. What is the price point? Because I haven't bought a game yet. Is the price point on PC, is it still $60, or do they still charge $70 for their first party title games? Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn, the Spider-Man game that came out. Were they $70? Ghost of Tsushima? Were they $70 or were they $60 on PC, chat? Kuda Papa says 30. I'm pretty much done buying games on my PlayStation 5. I'll wait for the fame on PC and play the native 4K 120 on the 896p. Isn't worth my time. World says people also buy those to hold on to because it's a lot like Nintendo products hold their value. Yeah, Nintendo products are like Mini Coopers. If you guys don't know about cars, you could buy a Mini Cooper, okay? And you could drive it off the lot and you could still sell that Mini Cooper years later for almost what you paid for it. It like holds its value. Okay. Lots of other cars you drive off the lot, they lose like 60% of their value as soon as you drive off the lot. So Nintendo's like the Mini Cooper of cars for video games. Krebs says those devices are also anchors. You get the PSVR 2, Portal, etc., and you're that much less likely to leave. Sure, but they know those people aren't going to leave anyway, Krebsy, right? Those people that it's marketed towards, those people love what Sony's doing, right? So they're like, oh man, I love the PlayStation 5. Oh, I can't wait for some VR, right? They could go buy a MetaQuest, but they're like, you know what? I've already invested in my console. I want to get the stuff that I can play on my console. So that automatically you don't even need those devices to lock you down anymore for leaving. The games themselves lock you in because they're digital. So if you have a PlayStation now, to leave the PlayStation or the Xbox ecosystem, you got to leave all your games, right? So when you get rid of that console, you're getting rid of everything. So the anchor is not just those devices, it's the games themselves. Robert Jones. There it goes. Robert Jones says, anyone here have a Portal and any of is any good for multiplayer shooters? I think it would be because you're sitting in the same house, and if you have good enough internet, it should be good, Jones. Now, if you bring it to like Starbucks and you're on their Wi-Fi and stuff like that, you could have issues. But if you have good internet at your house and your wife's on the television set, you want to play on the first person shooters, I think it should be good. Kyle says, yeah, today games, I only buy once. PC, I double dip on older games that are cheap. But the newer titles, I do not only buy them on one platform. When GTA 6 comes out to PC, I might have to upgrade my PC. I'll probably get GTA 6 on console just because it's easier for me. I don't want to upgrade anything to play a game. I'm not spending $700 so I can play a $70 game. Maybe a $100 game. Now, if there's multiple games coming out and stuff like that, then yeah. Lucas says money talks. It talks so good that Nintendo put their precious IPs on mobile. That says a lot. Right. That's a great example, Rodriguez, right? Like, because Nintendo wants to also make more money. Well, how do they do that? Well, let's take our IPs and put it on a mobile device, right? Separate game. They have their Mario Kart and stuff over there. It's not the same, but they wanted to make more money. Why? Because the 60 million people that bought it on the Switch is a saturation point, but people still like what that is. And they're like, oh, well, when they're not on the Nintendo, maybe they'll play it on the mobile. Salty says, yeah, I'm not saying it isn't going to happen. The question is when it's going to happen. Who individuals are delusional? Right. It is going to happen. Just when? I'll say another 3 to 4 years from now. We will see the first game that says day and date. And I'm not going to be like, I told you so. The reason I'm saying is because it just makes logical sense as a business. It just makes logical sense. Eclipse says it's usually $60, and I got a feeling that it'll be $70 on this one. I guess we'll see, huh? Altern says, so the first mod going in to be more gorgeous Mary Jane, CJ, and or Shrek. Which of the three will come first? Spider-Man 2 on PC. Let me see what you guys are saying. Argus says, I have a tablet. I watch all my shows on it, and when I'm on my desk. I do that sometimes too. I have my iPad right here, and sometimes I'm doing stuff on the screen, but I just playing a show on my iPad. You'll probably enjoy it. It's just a smaller screen. I struggle with it at first, but obviously, like 30 said, it depends on your internet. Yeah, if your internet's good, it'll be good. User idiot says, "Isn't that what you do on console? Isn't what I do on console?" User. I'm assuming you're talking about buy a console and you're buying one console just for one game. No, I don't. I don't buy a console for one game. I usually buy a console because I know other games are coming that I'm interested in. I will never ever go, oh man, I need this $1,000 graphics card so I can play this one game. That's not what I personally do. No. When you invest in a console, you do spend $700 to upgrade to play a new game. Same deal for PC. No, there's a difference, right? If I already have a PC, like for instance, I'm a streamer. Okay, I had $500 to spend. I could have bought a PlayStation, but I made a business decision to buy a graphics card for my PC that I already put money into. So my PC was already $1,200, but I didn't buy my graphics card to play video games. I bought my graphics card to update my whole experience. I could play games, do better content, right? So I could do more things with my PC. When I'm buying a brand, let's just say the PlayStation Next comes out, and I'm sorry, PlayStation 6 or the Xbox Next comes out. When that first drops, me personally, I'm not going to buy the brand new Xbox or PlayStation until they prove to me what games are coming out. You have to show me what you have. I'm not just going to blindly pay $700, okay, for a console. And I'm speaking for myself to be like, oh, yeah, this one game's coming out. I'm going to buy it for that. No. Now, tail end here, Grand Theft Auto 6 comes out. Let's say it says, it doesn't even come out for the system. It only comes out for the next system. Would I buy that system for Grand Theft Auto? Sure, to play it, I would. But I also know there's more games coming out. But at the same time, I'm a content creator, and I would have to purchase that because that would be the latest, greatest game to talk about. Or I could just purchase it on PC, but it doesn't come out at the same time, right? You have to wait a year afterwards. Rodriguez says, I'm guilty of that, looking at my Wii U right now. I've never purchased a console based on one game alone. I always go, okay, the next Xbox comes out, there's a Halo game coming out, there'll be a flight sim, there's third-party games coming out, there's Gears of War. I would look at that. If I'm buying a PlayStation, I go, okay, they have a God of War, there's a Last of Us, I would know their IPs that they have. And if I was on Nintendo, I'd be like, all right, there's a Mario, there's a Zelda, there's a Metroid. Right? I bought the closest I came to buying a system for one game would be Ultimate Alliance 3 for the Switch. But I didn't buy it just for Ultimate Alliance 3, but I justified it because I have a son. And when we bought it, he was just getting into the gaming age. And I was like, you know what? Let's buy a Switch. We can buy the Mario game. We can buy the different games for him to play on the Switch. And I can also get my Ultimate Alliance 3. Kyle says, by the time that GTA 6 comes to PC, my build will be around 5 to 6 years old. So I think the upgrade will be warranted. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I might have to upgrade my computer because my computer has, as you can tell, always has issues left and right. And my computer was built in 2015. Okay. So I've upgraded here and there. So the next thing I do, instead of upgrading my PC anymore, I think it's at its like tail end of what it could do with the motherboard and stuff. I might as well just buy a brand new PC or build a brand new PC. But again, I'm not buying it because of Grand Theft Auto. What's going on, Jesse Mac? What's going on, East Vandal? What did Mo say? Did Mo say something up here? Mo says, I've been busy, but Wolverine will be one of the first day and date games. See, I think it'll be X-Men, the X-Men down the line. I did say in the past, I think I said Wolverine could, but if Wolverine comes out if Wolverine comes out in 2025, no. If it comes out in 2026, you might have it because I said 2 to 3 years from now, I think they'll do the day and date. So you might be right. But I think the X-Men game down the road, I think will be the first game to come day and date. But again, there's so many variables that need to happen. Like this game needs to sell well. This one, you know what I mean? Like if a game comes out on PC and sells well, and then the brand new game comes out and it only sells like 5 million copies, I say only, but you know what I'm saying? From the larger scale of people that own a PlayStation, right? 5 million is a great number, but 5 million of 70 million people that own a console, they want to sell more. Well, how do you do that? You got to get it out to PC. Randall says, Mo, exactly. Jim Ryan signed that horrible Marvel contract, so they have to ensure that Wolverine sells, that the X-Men will be day and date, possibly on Xbox 2. I don't know about, I want to go say Xbox 2. I wouldn't say as far as saying it comes to Xbox. I don't think a lot of games will ever come to Xbox, but I do believe it will be day and date on PC down the road. Eclipse says, man, the X-Men game is live service. That would be dope. Well, I didn't even think about it if it was being live service. I just think maybe be co-op, I guess it would be like a Marvel's Avengers, which was live service, but I thought it would just be like multiplayer. That's all. Multiplayer meaning like you could play, 2 or 3 friends, like, but not a live service game. But if it's a live service game, then it is coming day and date. So that nil and voids what I said then. If it is a live service game, because PlayStation said live service games come day and date. East Vandal says those games will be multi-gen too because they have to have make sure that they sell on PlayStation 4 and holding back gaming. Well, that's another thing, right? Do they make their next games? I kind of touched a little bit based on this earlier, Vandal. Like, do they make games where they go back and make sure they run on the 4, or do they make them just for the 5 and force those people to come over, even though those people don't want to come over because the price tag of the system is too high, right? This would be more likely not happening, but it would be really cool if Deadpool shows up in Wolverine game after the movie. Oh, that'd be cool. And then us entitled assholes can think of it as the next Wolverine game could be a sequel with Deadpool. Yeah. Wolverine 2026. Well, if they show it off at the Video Game Awards show, usually within 6 months, right? Within the year, they bring them out. I think it's going to be 2026 as well, Mo. But we'll see. Mo says, got to remember, hashtag less is more. Hashtag charge me more. Jesse Mack says, I hope not that the X-Men live service just like they do with Marvel's Avengers. Yeah, I didn't even think about it when I said the X-Men game. I was just thinking X-Men game would be like you playing the X-Men and then switching characters. I never even thought about being a live service game. Well, that's another question, right? If Grand Theft Auto 6 is supposed to come out, right? When's it coming out? And if Insomniac is dropping Wolverine in 2025, right? That's a big if. If Grand Theft Auto drops, when's it dropping? If it drops in 2025, okay? And if it drops, is it dropping the same time as Wolverine? That would hurt it. Regardless, that would be a huge like uh-oh. Robert Jones says X-Men game could be like the Guardians. Hopefully, yeah, maybe where you can swap characters and stuff like that. Maybe not as Guardians of the Galaxies, but Okuda Papa says, I believe it got delayed out of 2025. Well, then here's another thing. Does that mean Wolverine gets placed back in? Right? Maybe it was 2025, but they pushed it to 2026. But now Grand Theft Auto is like, we're going to 2026. And they're like, we're going back to 2025. Hey, you want to stay clear of Grand Theft Auto. There's a shit ton of gamers, game companies right now going, what are you doing, Rockstar? You want to give us any kind of hint or what's happening with Grand Theft Auto 6, please? Because we would like to know when we can release our game. Krebsy's putting it out there. He says Wolverine, June 2025, GTA 6, September 2025. When, I haven't looked this up, is there a pattern that Insomniac does when they release their games? Let me see. Let's look. Let's see here. They've released their first game in November. Ratchet and Clank came out in what, February? Ratchet and Clank on PlayStation 2 came out. I don't know. It doesn't say the date. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart came out in June. Marvel Spider-Man released in October. October. When did Miles Morales come out? October. So all Spider-Man games came out in October. A rumor here says that Venom game is supposed to release in 2025. Wolverine's supposed to release in 2026. But that's from that leak. X-Men's not supposed to come out till 2030. Oh, they'll definitely have day and date by that time. I'll say by Spider-Man 3, 2028, they might have day and date on PC and PlayStation. Because that's in the 3 to 4 years that I said. Spider-Man was October. Coming October 20th on PlayStation 5 is what it said here. Yeah, October 20th is when it came out. Sorry, remember the Borderlands next year, and there have been a couple of hints that GTA 6 is being pushed to 2026 so they can get Borderlands out. Oh, I forgot about Borderlands, the next Borderlands. November, October, same thing, just spelled differently. Right. Well, There's the only base that we have off of that, Jesse, though, is that October is when they release the Spider-Man games. Is that when Insomniac's like whenever we come out with a game in Marvel, it's October? It's a good time slot because of the holidays. It's a very good time slot. Well, the only way it would be pushed, Krebsy, is because they're both for the same company. They don't want to eat their own. They're both for gear. They're both for their 2K. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to cannibalize their own sales. So they would push it to make sure that this one can breathe. Look, wherever Grand Theft Auto, you push Borderlands, not GTA, sure, but they know GTA is going to sell regardless. Wherever GTA comes out, it's going to sell. As he says, they seem to read it as a different generation, but I've been around this whole time, and the same people are buying the same product updates. What are the numbers of new buyers? Would be interesting. The only thing that we have is PlayStation. They said that 30% of people that didn't own a PlayStation now own a PlayStation. Okay. But at that same time, is the old people that are in the ecosystem of PlayStation haven't moved over to PlayStation 5 yet, which is over 50%. Over 50% of the people, it's actually probably more. Think about it, right? Because if 30% are new on PlayStation and they're at 60 million units, right? 30% of that is new. That means only 20% of the people that moved over from the original PlayStation 4 moved over to PlayStation 5. So there's even more people that weren't on PlayStation. I'm sorry, more people that were on PlayStation 4 haven't moved over to PlayStation 5 yet. If 30% of them are new. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto can sell. It doesn't matter when it comes out. It's going to sell. It's the other titles are like, let's give it some breathing room. Because here's the problem. If you put GTA before Borderlands, we don't know what the plans are for GTA. But let's say they're doing the online stuff, Krebsy. If they're doing the online stuff, so they drop the single player, GTA 6 comes out, let's say a month or two goes by, and then all of a sudden they open up the online. That's it. It's going to drown out everything else that comes out. And if Gearbox comes out with their next Borderlands game after GTA, the GTA Online is going to be the next wave that comes through. This is why you get that out before. But here's a predicament I think is going to happen. Borderlands 4 is not ready, but they're going to push it out early. Okay, they're going to push it out early because they got to get it out the door before Grand Theft Auto, and they don't want to wait any longer for Grand Theft Auto. Again, this is my speculation. Right? I have no proof of this. This is just my mindset of it. Okay, Borderlands 4, they're going to push out the door early. They're going to obviously it's going to be broke, buggy, and unfinished. They'll fix it over time. Okay, because they're going to shove it out the door too early, premature, to get it out before Grand Theft Auto because they want Grand Theft Auto out. Krebsy says Borderlands needs breathing room because that shit won't be done by 2025. I agree. 3 to 5 years to make a game. They released that 3, fixed for the next 2. You sent me this. I think we talked about this before. Akuta Papa. Yeah, this is back in September. We talked about this. Yeah, GTA 6 will be delayed until 2026, question mark. One of the execs at Rockstar Devs says the studio probably won't be able to make that call until May of 2025. Yeah, but this is one of the ex-Rockstar devs saying this. He doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Let's be honest, right? Things can change dramatically. This is a person that worked on it that left and said, yeah. Now, it could be, but again, it's just speculation. We've all heard this before, right? Because this here, I'll bring this article up. Okay. Let's see. Right. We've all seen this and heard this before. This little line right here. Let me make it nice and big for you. Okay. They're not going to release the game until they're 100% happy with it. Now, who else said that? Who else said that? Who else said they weren't going to release the game until it was done, unlike other companies, as they said? I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint. It rhymes with Biberbunk 2072. I know I made it hard for you. Okay. Cyberpunk 2077 said the same thing. CD Projekt Red said the same thing. We're not going to release a game unfinished, unlike other people. Could they delay it? Sure. By this point, Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto 6 has been delayed 4 years because everyone was talking about how it's coming out in 2020. Altern says, this brings back those 2020 years. Stay at home all day. Right. Right. Yeah. Like people have been saying this game is coming out this year for the last 4 years. Can you imagine being one of those Rockstar employees? They come in one day and they're like, hey, did you guys see? The internet's saying that we're coming out this year. They're like, we haven't even started yet. Yeah. Ron says, I hope all 2025 games get delayed so I can focus on Avowed. Your backlog. The game's going to be big. The game's going to be big, Ron. Krebsy says GTA 6 will have an economic impact with the number of people calling off work. Yeah, the stock market will crash. It'll be like, no one's showing up today. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Nobody's showing up for work. All right. We're going to talk about the next story. If you guys like what I do, we just bullshit for 2 hours. If you guys like that, hit the like button. We talk about gaming news, conversations. Okay. If you like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Talk about gaming news, entertainment news. Okay. Nintendo Switch Online Playtest program details, leaks online. Okay. So, several users have leaked details of Nintendo Switch Online Playtest program online. The leak started on X, formerly Twitter. I love that. I love how everyone refuses to call it X, and they just keep calling it X, formerly known as Twitter, like it's Prince. Okay. Which user Ethan, this guy who shared several images of the playtest contents. Nintendo quickly DMCA'd the content, but mirrors of the others users have since uploaded photos. Now, the images read in the game, the goal is to work with others to full development as massive, expansive planet by utilizing creativity and famed resources. As you progress across the planet, you discover new lands, enemies, and resources that will also become essential in your journey. It continues throughout the adventure. Players will also be granted special tools known as beacons, and these beacons emit a heating light that purifies and developers the land. The higher your beacon is placed, the wider the beacon zone becomes. Within your beacon zone, your best work can be done. Players also repeat this process until the current planetary block is considered fully developed. Images of these details from the leak suggest the game is also going to Nintendo MMO with the visuals of on brand of a cartoony fashion. Images of this leak can also be found over here, which I'm not going to click on. Okay, and the Nintendo Switch Online playtest program is scheduled to take place between October 24th and November 6th. So what do you think about the developing new MMO for Nintendo? So Nintendo Switch Online Playtest program. Okay, they have a MMO in the works supposedly. Okay, maybe here's what I'll do. Let me click on this link. Let me click on this link and see what happens. Okay. Let's see. You can't even find it. Nope. So an MMO. So basically, Altern says, so basically No Man's Sky or Light No Fire. I don't think it's going to be Light No Fire. I think it's their own proprietary MMO for Nintendo, which is interesting because if we're talking about Nintendo and they want to get into the live service area, you pay $50 a month right now to play video games on the Switch. Be interesting to see if they toss their hat in the ring for MMO. Eclipse says, I actually watched people play the new Mario Party online. Looked pretty good. Wasn't lagging or anything like Nintendo's getting with the program or something. Was their last game? I don't think the party game was lagging last time. None of the Mario parties were. Robert Jones says CDPR pissed away all the goodwill because they knew they were could turn a huge profit and earn goodwill back a few years. They still haven't earned mine back. But you're absolutely right. I have said it in the past, right? They burned all the bridges of goodwill, right? They still haven't earned mine back. I own the game. I was gifted it by Brainchild, right? Longtime viewer and friend. He gifted it to me. I never played it. I want to play it. Sarge tells me to play it. Everyone tells me to play it. Just CD Projekt Red left that bad taste in my mouth, and I'm just like, eh. Oh, like this is online, like you're playing online for the Jamboree is an online game, Eclipse? Is that what you're saying? I got to bring up Force Gaming. Get his video up and running here. We'll see what happens with my audio when I bring this in. That'll be fun. Sarge says, how many people would lose their mind if Nintendo finally broke down and made an MMO out of Mario? That would be interesting. I don't know if you think they would lose their mind? Clip says it has an online mode. You don't have to play it online, but most of the time on Twitch games, the online modes are really laggy. Got it. I can't imagine that Nintendo's playing nice with Twitch to get their things. Robert Jones says, if Nintendo MMO ain't Pokemon, what are we talking about? Right? Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're making an MMO of Pokemon. I can't see the images. I can't see the images. So, all right, this last thing we're going to be talking about here is Wayfinder. It's a 21-minute long video. It's Wayfinder 1.0. Okay, now we watched Force Gaming's Wayfinder video over a year ago when he talked about it the first time. Now, I played Wayfinder in the beta program, and I liked it, but then I didn't like what they were doing with it because it was an MMO at the time. Since that time, they completely revamped the entire game, right? And I'm kind of interested in it. And so I want to watch this because I talked about it last week. I was like, you know what? I'm kind of interested in this. And Eclipse is like, yeah, it's coming out next week. And now Force Gaming made this video. So we're going to watch this video and then we'll give you our thoughts and stuff as we play it. All right. So let's bring him up. "100% have a meltdown." Jason says Wukong physical copies are coming soon, according to Game Science. Are they are they coming out with the hard copy before they even come out with the Xbox, or is the Xbox going to be coming out at the same time as the hard copies? World says Fire Emblem MMO might work as well. Let's see. Anybody else said anything? Laggy. All right. So let's start this. If you guys like this, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We're going to watch this video from Force Gaming.
Wayfinder first entered All right, so it's been a little over a year now since Wayfinder first entered early access. The game has gone through some pretty massive changes in the time since, overhauling many of its gearing and progression systems, along with adding a whole bunch of new content and features. All of that on top of it getting even more new additions coming later this week when they finally, at long last...
I've always did like the way it looked, right? I've always liked the way it looked. It had a nice little art style to this game.
Leave early access, releasing the 1.0 version of the game. Now, I got the chance to play this 1.0 version early, checking out all of the changes and new content myself as part of a sponsored preview promo with Airship Syndicate. Today, what I'm going to do is go over everything that has changed with Wayfinder over the course of this past year, along with giving you a bit of a sneak peek at all of the upcoming new stuff as well. All right, so let's talk about Wayfinder. At its core, Wayfinder is this character action game that blends open world environments with procedurally generated dungeon crawls and a slew of boss.
Question. Those of you that are playing, I know Brain, you're playing it and stuff. This game is a co-op game now where I can, is it drop in, drop out? Or do I have to get into a lobby and wait for people to join and then I can join in and play in, like, can I come to your world? Or is it just, can we play together? Or, okay, or is it just single player? Because I know there's supposed to be co-op, so I would assume it is it like just certain dungeons, or can we play the game together? Eclipse says I still have laggy. That problem is definitely bad in the coding or something. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like if I want to show videos, I can't use this program, which is weird because I watch other people do this program and it works fine. So something's going on behind the scenes. I'll have to figure it out.
Battles known as hunts. As you might recall, it used to also be a shared world game where you would connect to servers and see other people running around in the open world and in the game's major town. Although that changed when the studio's one-time publisher, Digital Extremes, ended up dropping the game shortly after that early access release. And in the wake of that, they were pretty forthcoming with the fact that they had two choices: to either shut down the game or try to migrate it into an offline.
Here's the thing. Kudos to them for making the change, right? Because Digital Extremes dropped them, okay? And they could either just close shop and that was it, or they changed the fundamental part of this game where it was an MMO and now it's a completely single-player RPG, which is huge,
experience, and they ended up going with the latter. In the process, the game also shifted from a freemium model with a cash shop to a one-time purchase with all of the microtransactions removed. You can still play with other people, by the way. It does still have co-op. Either you can
see, I don't even know why I asked you. I should just waited for the video. He told me.
And invite them directly or use that in-game party finder. But yeah, some pretty big changes, right? Lots of big things changed about the game over the course of this past year, but that's not all. Another big change for Wayfinder has been that it is now much more of a traditional RPG, with them overhauling many aspects of the gearing and progression systems. So for example,
so they worked this game completely from the ground up again, where all the stuff that was in the microtransaction store and that the armor and stuff is now in the game for you to earn. Like, bravo.
Weapons now drop just like other items. Previously, these were crafted where you would farm for components to build a weapon, and this typically would take a fair bit of time and require a fair bit of grinding. Now, on the other hand, they drop on a regular basis just like other loot games. So you might open a chest and find a level 3 two-handed sword. You equip that, you go on, and then say 5 minutes later, after you kill a boss, he then drops a level 5 pair of daggers, and then you could equip that and use that now instead. And the neat thing too is the fact that yes, you can freely swap these weapons as you please, as any character, any Wayfinder can use any of the game's weapons. So if you're like me and you're playing Wingrave, you're going to start off with a sword and shield, but then eventually if a big two-handed axe drops, you can start using that, or even ranged weapons. At one point I did try playing around with playing Wingrave using shotguns and rifles. While playing, like I said, on a regular basis, you're going to be seeing weapon drops. They're no longer this big crafting and time-gated.
So I have a question. Those of you that are playing, when the weapons drop because you're not using that character or that, I guess there's no classes, does the same weapon drop over and over and over, or there's lots of different weapons that drop and there are different perks on them?
grind. You're just going to find them all
Because he doesn't, did he say? I don't think he said.
using that, or even ranged weapons. At one point, I did try playing around with playing Wingrave using shotguns and rifles. While playing, like I said, on a regular basis, you're going to be seeing weapon drops. They're no longer this big crafting and time-gated grind. You're just going to find them all the time, and you can use whatever ones you find that you feel like using. There are gear sets now in the game as well. Every single Wayfinder has multiple sets of gear for you to collect. These range from common all the way up to the purple rarity. Now, these are one-time pickups, so say once you find a helm from a certain set, you then permanently have that helm for that Wayfinder.
Okay.
While previously armor was entirely cosmetic, now it not only does have its own visual distinction to it, but it also comes with its own passive bonuses, granting percent increases.
See, that's from an outside perspective, you're like, oh, cool. Like them changing this entire game to where now before it was just cosmetic, but then they had to go back and put actual stats and whatnot on each piece of gear. That's fantastic. So this is actually a full-fledged game now. It's actually a full-fledged game. So last year, I remember saying, I played the beta and I was like, I was excited to play the game, but I said, because the game's not done, I was like, I didn't want to pay for it. I didn't want to buy it and promote it or whatever. But now the game is done. It's 1 year later. They actually have their full release. It went through a complete change of an MMO to an RPG, and it looks and sounds like it's actually pretty good now.
To some combination of offensive and or defensive stats. Now, beyond those changes, the game has a whole heck of a lot more content and features today than it did when it first entered early access. There's a bigger open world. There are new areas. There are additional dungeons and bosses to fight. There are new features.
It almost looks like a mix of World of Warcraft mixed with like Fortnite a little bit.
Like player housing and quite a bit more. Here is the general overview of the different things that you can see and do in Wayfinder. Like, what is in Wayfinder? Well, your whole playthrough will be guided by the main story quest line. This is going to introduce you to each of the new systems, features, and areas in the game. Shortly after the tutorial, you will be guided through the two primary content areas, those being the open world zones as well as the instanced dungeons and hunts. All right, so first we get the open world. There are currently 3 fully open zones in the game. Originally, in the early access release, there was pretty much just the highlands with a tiny version of the second snowy region.
Eclipse says the fact that the price isn't going up for early access and will be 10% off, it just makes me more mad about Starship Troopers.
Well, now that second zone called Frost March is significantly bigger. It's actually bigger than the Highlands, very large area with a lot more areas and spaces to explore and a bunch of new content within that. And then with the 1.0 update.
Do we think that this game, obviously it's a single player RPG though, but do we think down the road they open it back up, not to be an MMO, but is there still hubs? Like, does the town still have a whole bunch of people in it, or no, that's gone? It's only like your set world. Like, do we think they go? Excuse me. Do we think they go back to, if there's a player base here? Do you think they make it more like Destiny, right, where it's not really an MMO, but it's MMO light?
Date that's coming this week, they are even adding a third region called the Crucible. Now, each of these zones are visually distinct. So the Highlands is this mountainous forest region with a lot of like medieval inspired architecture. Frost March is all snow and ice with this kind of witchy in the woods vibe. And then the Crucible, the newest zone, is like a deep jungle with a lot of oversized plants and these like ancient ruins all scattered throughout. A lot of interesting new traversal stuff in here as well. So each of the open world areas, besides visually looking different, also has basically the typical mix of content and stuff you might expect to see within an open world. You've got events with various event locations, both static and dynamic, different events for each one of the 3 different zones. There are puzzles and secrets like hidden rooms, chests that are locked until you solve some sort of puzzle or kill an enemy. You got world bosses found in particular areas. At one point, I fought this massive worm inside of a
Well, that's good. So if we're playing together and you decided you want to go off on your own, you can go off your own. We're not tethered in any way, shape, or form, Eclipse.
cave in the Highlands. There are patrols, think like Destiny style. These are flagpoles that when you interact with, it's going to give you an objective in the immediate vicinity. And then you get NPCs scattered throughout the open world, often found at...
Oh, you know what this also reminds me of? The art style? Dauntless. That's what it more reminds me of, not Fortnite. It reminds me of Dauntless.
camps. These will either grant you some side quest or often act as merchants selling goods as well. Also in the open world are going to be numerous dungeon entrances, which then leads us into Wayfinder's instanced content, referred to as the Lost Zones. This includes a mix of dungeon crawl and boss fight encounters. So first we've got the expeditions. This is like the traditional dungeon crawl experience.
How many expeditions do they have? Do they got more than 6? Like Space Marines 2?
Go in, you clear through different rooms of enemies, you solve the occasional puzzle, complete some events, all in the name of filling up this progress bar at the top, which will mean once full at the end, you're going to get the most number of rewards. You get these bonus chests, basically. Now, every open world area in the game will have multiple associated lost zones, each with distinct theming that sort of ties into that open world area. Some of the lost zones are going to be the more traditional dark dungeon with a lot of narrow hallways and hidden doors and traps, while some of the other lost zones are...
How dare you want DLC, brain? You entitled.
are more like open outdoor environments with these interconnected large spaces. These are all then procedurally...
Did they just add a new one, Roadkill? Because they had 6 at launch. There wasn't 7, there was 6.
Placed together, so no 2 runs of any lost zone are alike. No 2 expeditions are exactly the same. You're going to make your way through these different configurations of areas, hallways, and rooms with those puzzles, events, and enemies scattered all throughout. Lots of different things you can see. There's quite a large variety of events, sort of like the open world areas. You will have different events that are specific to each of the expeditions, each of the lost zones. Then you got stuff like the Trickster, this like mini game RNG heavy thing. If you get lucky, you win a prize. You've got the Treasure Goblin, which is exactly what it sounds, carrying a big chest. You kill it, you get some loot. And that, in a nutshell, are the expeditions. Procedurally generated dungeon crawls.
Oh, there's procedurally generated, so there's way more than 6.
Within the lost zones. And then you've got the hunts, and these on the other hand are very straightforward. You just go in, there is a single room, you fight a boss, the end. These are also tied to the lost zones. There's typically a pair of boss hunts for every correlated lost zone area. These range from rather straightforward tank and spank, avoid the damage on the ground, to some encounters with really interesting mechanics and some nice variety. Now in total, with the 1.0 launch, there are going to be 22 separate boss hunts available, with harder fights called
22 separate boss fights at launch. Wow, that's crazy.
mythic hunts that ramp up the challenge further, rewarding endgame resources. And then there's the imbuement system. Both of these things, the expeditions and the hunts, can be further modified via imbuments. This makes your run more difficult by adding a variety of debuffs in exchange for more experience and a unique crafting resources. And these go from simple to pretty extreme. So for example, if you do an expedition with...
But why do I want to do this? Why do I want to make it super hard on myself? Does the gear come out much better?
One shadow imbuement in it. It's going to make it so that at half health, enemies get larger, they grow in size, and they deal increased damage. If you place 2 shadow imbuments, that will still be the case. They still get bigger at half health and deal more damage. But then also, there will be these corruption shrines all throughout the zone that you have to clear in order to progress, removing this debuff.
Okay, so that's Diablo.
And then if you put 3 shadow imbuments, all of a sudden you've got all that stuff happening, but then also the whole zone has you taking damage. And to protect yourself from the damage, you need to carry this torch around with you, which basically creates an area of light within which you are safe. And that torch gets progressively smaller as you move, as time goes on, but it can be refilled at those aforementioned corruption shrines. And that's just one example using 3 shadow imbuments in a single expedition. There are so many different combinations. There are 5 imbuement types. There's chaos, flora, greed, shadow, and solar. Each of these do different things with combinations for any of these, and you can mix and match them however you like. Any way you can combine them with the 3 slots, it makes for just a lot of increased variety within doing these expeditions and going on these hunts. All right, so next up we got the Wayfinders themselves. These are the characters that you play. There are 8 Wayfinders in the game currently.
Oh, there was only 4 when I played, so there's 8 now.
Up from the 6 that were available at the early access launch. And now you unlock these just naturally playing through the campaign. It is no longer this massive grind or time gate, and it's not tied to a cash shop anymore either, because there's no longer a cash shop in the game. You just simply, you play the game and you unlock all the Wayfinders as you progress.
See, I want this game just from what it was to what it is now. I would like to see this game succeed, because it was a microtransaction hell, okay? And it wasn't a full, complete game. And here we are 1 year later, completely changed the fundamentals of what this game was to what it is. And now they made a game, and now they're selling a game, right? Before, they weren't selling a game. Before, they were selling a store, okay, with things to do while you're waiting to buy stuff. And now you're just buy the game.
Through the campaign, using and swapping to whatever one you want to play whenever you feel like playing it. The basic TLDR of each of these are Wingrave is this close combat all about supporting allies with shields and healing abilities. Silo can summon illusions and throws bombs with powerful area of effects. Nis is this fast teleporting with summoning clones and dealing.
What's the price of this game? Is it full price?
Shadow damage. Kairos is like a glass cannon. He is squishy but hits very hard. Sendra is a brawler, more melee focused with some CC. You got Venomous, who poisons enemies and heals allies. Grendel is like a berserker with leaps and whirlwind attacks. And then Laura, the newest character coming with 1.0, is a combination of melee and magic with attacks that are infused by these avatars. Really cool visual elements here with this Wayfinder. So you can play any Wayfinder you want. They've got their own levels and their own progression tied to that, but then there's also further progression in all of the other progression systems.
I think after today, I think we're not going to use this program except for when we do interviews, because there's a lot of stuttering going on. So I like to apologize for that.
So let's talk about that. Progression, this has changed quite a bit, as mentioned earlier. It now has much more in common with many traditional RPGs and loot games. So the gear, these armor sets, you're going to find and unlock pieces of the armor sets as you play, doing any activities, opening chests, killing bosses. These will range from basic to rare, so they progress from common, white to green, blue, and...
I'm sorry, it's not out for Xbox. It's out for PlayStation and PC, but it's not out for Xbox yet. Sarge says, wait, I'm supposed to be impressed that they tried to greed out on microtransactions, me to death, and now they realize they went for I'm supposed to be impressed. Fuck that. Next. No, but it hasn't launched yet, Sarge. Today is the launch day. So yeah, they literally changed the game before it launched to what it is. So they went from a microtransaction filled MMO to a single player RPG, and today is the launch date, and there's no microtransactions. So yeah, they made a game.
Purple, getting more stats granted at the highest tier. Each piece will come with 2 passive boosts, enhancing some combination of offensive and defensive values for your character. And you can mix and match these set pieces however you like. Again, not only do they look visually different, but they've got their own bonus perks, with the higher tier stuff being better. And then you've got the weapons. These also drop in levels with rarities. They will be getting progressively higher level as you play through, with the higher rarities moving up to purple. The higher the level, the better the stats on the weapon. There's actually over 44 weapons in the game now. This is up from the 20 or so that it launched into early access with. Now, I should note that each
I like the way all those weapons look.
Weapon comes with its own distinct skills. There are actually multiple variations of the same weapon classes. So, for example, the sword and shield has many different variations. There's a variation where you do a shield throw. There's one where you self-heal. There's one where you pull up tendrils from the ground.
Do each of the weapons have their own? I know he's saying some stuff now. Do each of the weapons, like if I sort of like Towerborn that we're playing, right? If I have a sword and shield, a certain sword and a certain shield do different abilities, special abilities. Is it like that?
Ground. There's one where you create this bastion. There's one where you summon vines that suck people in. And while the same class will have the same base functionality in terms of their attack patterns and the weapon class mechanic, those individual named weapons, like I just talked about, each come with their very own unique skill. But there's much more to progression than gear and weapons. Next, you've got accessories with 3 accessory slots. These are filled with a large variety of items that you collect while playing. A lot of necklaces and charms and rings and things like that. But what the actual item is doesn't matter. It's more so the stat boost that you get from it. You can pick any accessories with the stats that you desire for your build, different combinations, mixing and matching depending on whatever you're going.
Is that your gear score underneath where it says like, or is that the damage? What is this? Like these are 30, it says 34, but down here it says like 168. So what am I? Is that the gear score? Uncommon 164. So it's the 164. He's 288. Is that how that works?
that you desire for your build, different combinations, mixing and matching depending on whatever you're going for. And then the other major means of stat boost comes via the ecosystem. So your Wayfinder, your weapons, and the accessories, all of these come with slots that you place echoes into. It's a simple category matching system with echoes dropping in certain categories that have to be put into a slot of that same category. And those categories are rush, cross, balance, guard, and attack. For the most part, these are all just passive offensive and defensive stat boost, with one major exception. Those are the rush echoes. These are much more unique in that they come with special effects that are activated by doing something in particular in combat. So for example, one of the rush echoes that I'm currently using is called the Hollowlord Vendril Echo. Whenever I use my weapon ability, so that skill that's attached to the weapon, it then makes it so that for the next 10 seconds, anytime I use one of my Wayfinder abilities, my class skills, it calls down a massive hand that slams the ground, doing physical damage equal to my weapon power. Lots of different rush echoes with all sorts of different interesting modifications, again, that help you further tailor, customize, and change up your build. Like weapons and accessories, echoes also drop at different levels and of different rarities. Echoes can then be further enhanced by this fusion system that makes them stronger. Then you've got the abilities themselves. Each one of the Wayfinders in the game has 4 active abilities, as well as a passive like class ability. You unlock these as you level up your Wayfinder, and then as you continue to progress, you can further enhance those abilities up to 3 times, making them progressively stronger. Then there's also the affinity system. There are 3 classes of affinities. These are called Instinct, Discipline, and Focus. So the stats that are on your weapons and accessories, those will all be enhanced by the level of your affinity for your particular character. It's sort of like these talent point systems where as you play, you level up, you get more affinity points to spend in whatever category you please. And then depending on the particular weapon or accessories you have equipped, their individual stats associated with those items get stronger and enhanced by your affinity level in each of those 3 categories. Each affinity category also comes with its own perks where you unlock additional bonuses at reaching levels 5, 15, and 25. And then there's also a talent system. This is a full-blown talent tree for every Wayfinder. For my main that I'm playing right now, Wingrave, his talent tree goes in 3 separate directions. Basically,
talent tree. Ooh, and all that.
They're broken down into the Resolve section is all about being more tanky. The Vengeance section is all about dealing melee damage. And the Heroism section is all about dealing ability
So lots of different builds.
damage or skill damage.
Can you respec, or do I have to pay like currency or whatever to reset it, or can I just undo it and then redo it?
On that, there is the end game system of awakening. So your weapon as well as your Wayfinders can be awakened using a combination of resources and currencies gathered by doing the game's variety of activities. You can then level up, getting progressively stronger for each awakened tier. This is basically the end game progression in Wayfinder, with the higher end awaken levels requiring you to clear the game's hardest content, including
Mr. Luke says, why? What is this? And why isn't it Marvel? This is basically what Ultimate Alliance is, right?
The mythic versions of those boss hunts. A couple of NPC and crafting vendors that you should know about playing the game. The main ones being the accessories vendor. Accessories actually come in sets that have set bonuses, and this vendor can help you basically fill any missing pieces you have in a set. There's a consumables vendor where you can buy and craft potions. One's just traditionally giving you buffs, but then also they reward you additional experience for faster leveling. You got a weapons vendor where you can craft or buy weapons that you've unlocked already. And then there's a housing vendor which sells housing related items, which brings me to the fact,
what do you need housing for? Housing feels like it's still in there from the MMO part.
Actually, that Wayfinder now has a housing system. There is player housing. You've got your own apartment in the main city. You can customize the inside of it by placing all sorts of like furniture, trophies, and pets. It's like multi-tiered. You can even place down these artifacts. These actually grant you passive character buffs. There's also progress.
All right, well, okay. If I'm doing stuff and you put stuff in my house and it gives me passive buffs, okay.
Via this reward tower. Now, previously, this was tied to a battle pass system.
See? It was tied to the Battle Pass system.
But since this is no longer a freemium game and it doesn't have a Battle Pass, it's now just thrown into the base game. You're going to unlock these naturally, a currency for unlocking these tiers while you play. And depending on which sections you go down, you're going to be rewarded a combination of like cosmetics, consumables, and currencies. So that's a lot of like the base game, the fundamentals of Wayfinder. Here's an overview of the new stuff specifically coming with 1.0. So they're adding a third chapter to the main story quest with a fully fledged.
Well, I'll answer that in a second, Sarge.
Brand new open world zone with its own set of side quest collectibles, new types of monsters, and hours more of questing content. That new zone is called Crucible. It's like this dense jungle region with all sorts of ancient ruins. They've introduced a new hook shot mechanic into the game for this region. There are going to be grapple points all over the place that you can pull yourself up to. In addition to the existing zip lines that are in the game, this just adds more freedom of movement through the environment. A lot of cool new events in this area as well. I saw like this matching puzzle where you had to match these giant runes to activate this machinery, capturing spirits inside of this floating artifact or guiding orbs into a well while fending off waves of enemies. 2 lost zones here with their own unique events, loot, monster, and traversal.
A lot to this game, man.
Mechanics. Both of these Lost Zone areas felt much larger and more open to the prior base game Lost Zone regions. So these include the Shattered Foundry, which is basically set in like the upper levels of the jungle on ledges and having you moving through trees. Then there's the Aegis Vault, which is inside of a like massive jungle cave system. A lot of bioluminescent plants here. It almost felt like being underwater. At one point, I was literally seeing flying jellyfish, or you come across these trippy mushrooms, which will show you hidden objects, but at the same time, you're hallucinating a bunch of fish floating all around you. So yeah, very underwater inspired here. One of the hunts, I just want to give an example of one of them. This was probably like one of the coolest boss fights I've seen in the game. So fighting the Hollow Lord Avenge.
Look at that boss.
Hunt. He's this massive tree boss with these 3 platforms, and you've got to hook shot your way between them as he's doing various attacks. You need to avoid the damage from him slamming his hand down and then hook shot back to start damaging his hand, and then you progress him through phases. Won't spoil the whole fight for you, but just all around this was an interesting boss encounter. And I
see myself dying on that many times.
There's more boss hunts here besides this one. As we mentioned earlier, there's the new Wayfinder Laura, which is all enhanced by these spirit attacks, like a mixture of melee and magic. There are 6 new weapons, which is that bringing the total weapon count up to 44. 21 new armor sets introduced in 1.0. There are brand new mounts. The game does have a mount system as well. You'll be riding around the open world. They did some updates to the tutorial. They made some performance UI and quality of life improvements, and the game is going to have cross-play with PlayStation 5, Xbox, and Steam.
That's huge. Cross-play between all the systems is very good.
Now, beyond all that 1.0 stuff, I was also told there's a bunch more in the works post 1.0. This is going to include things like a nightmare mode with exclusive rewards, a hardcore mode where if you have a Wayfinder die, you are locked out of that character for the rest of the playthrough until no more Wayfinders remain. They're going to have save slots if you want to progress through multiple playthroughs with different kinds of settings or playing with different friends. There are secret collectible creature personas that can change the cosmetics of your Wayfinders, and they're planning on having officially integrated mod support so letting the community customize the game experience. Again, this last section here I just mentioned, these are plans for post 1.0. So as you can see, Wayfinder has changed quite significantly since it first came to early access. This 1.0 release feels like a much more fleshed out game with far more content features.
It doesn't feel like a more fleshed out game. It is a more fleshed out game.
Systems, just everything. There is a lot more here, more fleshed out, more fully realized. It finally feels like a 1.0 version. And I'll say that the sponsor side, generally, I am just quite impressed with the improvements that they've made. And I say that as someone who would have loved to see them evolve that whole shared world MMO light version that they were originally launching with. Clearly, as we went over, they had to change directions, being dropped by their publisher. They were given the choice of closing the game or moving it into this current iteration. And I'm so happy that they decided to move it into the current iteration, because given the alternative of the game shutting down and not being available to anyone, I'm glad that they put in the work and shifted it so that it's available to people. And yeah, again, it's a much better and more fleshed out game today than it was when it first came to early access. Wayfinder will be leaving early access with the full 1.0 release happening this week on Monday, October 21st. You can learn more and check out the game yourself using the link in the description below. That is going to do it for our preview and overview of Wayfinder 1.0. Hopefully that gives you a good idea, a better picture of what the game is all about, what's changed, what's new. And with that, we wrap up today's video. Thank you as always for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See y'all.
All right. So look, I I totally get what you're saying, Sarge, that you're not supposed to be impressed because they did something that they made them problems for. The company that was publishing the game with Digital Extremes, which is the company that does Warframe and whatnot, they're the ones that wanted it to be the game that was supposed to be. They dropped them and left this studio, and the studio's like, well, what the fuck do we do? Do we continually just that's it, just drop it completely, or do we work on it because they like the game and they just make a game and then sell a game? So at that point of the publisher leaving the studio and leaving them high and dry, I applaud them for going, you know what? Let's rethink what we were doing and let's make a single player RPG type of game. So now they made a game, sold a game. Now, obviously, it's 1 year later. It's out of early access. They made a lot of changes. The same thing, like you could say with what EA did with like Battlefront. Battlefront 2 came out, and everyone was bitching about the cosmetics and whatnot, and they took that out and then launched the game. But people still keep bringing up about what they did, but yet that game is fantastic, right? So Wayfinder, they didn't launch it with this microtransactions, live service, battle pass, and whatnot. They reworked the entire game, reworked the entire system. Okay. Besides that home stuff they showed, I mean, that smelled like a live service game from that. And now they put it in there, but there's no other microtransactions or anything. It's just a game. PS5, what's going on? Says, company told Sony no when they tried to have a money hat. Had them, and Sony exclusively is the death sentence. This might be worth buying. I think it is worth buying now because it seems like it's a complete game. It seems like there's a lot to do within this game, and the price is, what did you say it was, Eclipse? $25, $30, right? Like, it seems like there's a lot more there. Roic says this is more than what they wanted to make. Digital Extreme pushed them in other ways, and this one was the reasons that they dropped them as they pushing back on some things. Right. So, look, I totally get it. Like, the industry is fucking corrupt by a lot of people, but when a small studio is like, you know what, we either close shop or let's just make a game, and they went, let's make a game. That you earn my respect personally. Eclipse says, I mean, this could have just not made it, and they could have just been bye-bye, and they didn't also respect that. The publisher just dropped them, and it wasn't their responsibility. Right. What's going on, Dolphin? So this is like a single-player WoW. Yeah, it's like, I look at it more like Dauntless, but without the Monster Hunt type of stuff. Chris says, if only the first Descendant became like that, like Wayfinder, the one-time pay game, that'd be great. That'd be great, but we all know that's not happening. El Dente says, well, you pay one time today and then one time in an hour and then it's one time tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. Kremsy says launched in the relaunch the same week as COD. That's a yikes for me. Yeah, it's not even the same type of they're all competition, but they're not in the same ballpark. People that are playing first person shooter are not going to be playing this game for the most part. It's a small studio. So they weren't strong armed into making a greed game. They went with that method. It didn't work. No. They were strong armed to make it. The company literally just dropped them. The publisher said, we're done. We don't want to do this. And Digital Extreme is interesting to me because this is the same company that was supposed to be doing Transformers. I forget what it was called before, but the Transformers Reactivate. Digital Extremes was working with, I forget the other company before it became a Splash Damage, but they were working with this other company to make the Transformers game. And then they just dropped the game completely, and then Splash Damage and Bulkhead picked it up. Right. So I would like the more information on what's going on with Digital Extremes, that they're just dropping fucking studios and IPs. Eclipse says 25 at 1 p.m. It will go on sale for 10% for release 1.0. So it's going on cheaper. It's going cheaper. Jones says, what happened to all the other games Digital Extremes drop at the same time? Or all they are dead? Well, Transformers was going to die. They got dropped 2-3 years ago. And then Splash Damage and Bulkhead picked it up. And that's where Activate is now, which we don't know. Is it coming out? We haven't heard anything in 2 years. Yeah, they actually had to get the rights to get away from Wayfinder's name. This was all Digital Extreme. I'll have to jump back in and see what changed. I'm interested in this. But I want to get it for console because this will be a game that I can play with my son. And if I buy it on PC, then I got to buy it again on Xbox. Where if I buy it once on Xbox, he can play with me. So I got to wait for it to come on Xbox. That's a lot of my purchases now. I look at, I'm like, well, if I buy this on PC, he can't play it. I was like, so I'll just wait for it to come on console. Roic says Digital Extreme could have dropped Colossus built in the contract. Just done known unless you have a copy to see it. Yeah, we don't know. Robert Jones says Digital Extremes books probably weren't right, so they cut stuff. Perhaps it'd be interesting to see what happens. Eclipse says I think they got rid of all their publishing. They stopped doing it. It was too hard for them, and they just wanted to focus on Warframe brand. Well, then that's good for them. They were spreading themselves too thin, but still shitty for the companies and for the games they left behind. Krebsy says the Soulframe looks rough. I mean, look, I'm always happy when a company decides to change the ways. No Man's Sky, right? They changed their ways, what they were doing, and redid it. Okay. Now, they've never put microtransactions in No Man's Sky. They just fixed the game. Make a game, sell a game. I say it all the time, and I'll say it till I'm dead. Make a game, sell a game. Okay. Wayfinder was making the game they were told to make, and then they were let go, and they went, well, we really like what we're doing here, and we don't want to drop this game, so let's fish this game. Let's make this game a single-player RPG, and now they put it out there. Now, we're at the starting gate. 2024, it releases today. How's the game? Is the game good? Okay. I think people should get rewarded for what they've done. Now, if they've made a good game and they sell a good game and people like that game, then they should be rewarded, right? I'm not going to hold it against them because what they did before the game launched. Today's the launch day. Sarge's point still stands, though. Why did they sign up for this? Maybe here I'll put two scenarios out there, right? Maybe they said we have a vision of a game for this, and Wayfinder approached them with this game that you're seeing right now, and Digital Extreme said, well, what about if we do this and make it microtransactions and do this and do this? We're publishing, and they're like, well, I really don't want to do that. And again, I'm taking the liberty of just saying this. I don't know if they did it that way, or we could go with they approached Digital Extremes going, hey, we have this MMO, we can make live service and whatnot, and they approached them with that, and it could be that. Sure. We don't know. So it could be one way, it could be the other, but this is what it is now. El Dente says, well, No Man's Sky had to make it all free to untarnish the game. Now we got to wait with the new one. It comes out when monetization will be then. Oh, right. For Light No Fire. We'll see what happens there. No, I get what you're saying. What's the contract? Look, I personally don't give a shit what the contract is. My point is that day one, not last year, day one, right now, they're releasing a game on the day it releases. This is what the game is. I don't care what it was before because I wasn't buying it before. This is what the game is now. They didn't launch it and then change it while it was launched. They changed it while it was in early access and completely shut it down, by the way. Completely shut it down and then reopened it to what it was. Took it down off the store. Didn't let anyone else buy the game for early access for it. Eclipse says, yeah, but look at their single-player games. They published that by someone else. Riot Games, they also needed the money. Digital Extremes also could have dropped them without pay with a payout. Sure, but how does that affect me as a person that's just buying their game? Why do I care about that? If they bought it out or couldn't afford it or changed their mind or whatnot, all I care about is what we just saw. Like if you didn't know about all the stuff that went behind the scenes and you just saw this as what this game is, what is it? Here's what it is. Minus that it was an MMO, now it's not an MMO. Just it's a single player RPG. What does all that matter? It doesn't. Krebsy Gaming says it's only 2 games showing a pattern, but Warframe launched greedy, then got changed to less greedy. Now Wayfinder launched greedy, and that got changed to single player without greed. Roic says, how many games had this journey? You don't know. Companies are also more transparent than these days in the early access and whatnot. Exactly. And who cares what it was? Okay. When they change it to what it is. And the game is a game now. Yeah, all the money that the people spent on the early access and the MMO, they got none of that. They didn't get any of that money from the from Digital Extremes. Digital Extremes took all of it. That's brutal. You care because you care about the industry. I care about the industry, and we always talk about make a game, sell a game. What I'm saying is, if this company is coming out with a game now, this is their launch day. However it happened, what they put the pieces together to get to this point to make a game, sell a game, it just matters now. The proof is in the pudding. First impressions. You buy the game. Is it a game? Is it a full game? Is there leftover remnants that you look at and go, oh, this is a microtransaction game? No, you buy the game one time, you get all that information that we just got, and that's what it is. It wasn't, well, it was a microtransaction game, and I played it for 2 years, and they switched it. That was early access. This is another reason I say don't get early access. Don't pre-order games. Don't get games early. Okay? Sure, we talk about the game industry and what it should be. This is a point of what it should be, right? So I'm putting it out there going that this company turned it around and now they made a game at launch day. Make a game, sell a game. This is one of those games now. It wasn't one of those games, but now it is before launch. It wasn't. I didn't purchase it. I played the early access 2 years ago. We saw this and we were like really excited. Early access came out. I started playing it for the free beta, open weekends and stuff. I really enjoyed it. But then I saw all the microtransactions behind the scenes and I went, no, not for me. I said that this game will be better 2 years from now. Here we are 1 year later. It's a completely different game because it is a completely different game. Okay. They got rid of all the microtransaction stuff. So I haven't even played this game. I played their old game that they had in the works of Wayfinder Online. That game doesn't exist anymore. Right? Robert Jones says it's noteworthy because it's happened in the public view. I agree. If this was all behind the scenes, right? I see what you're saying, but what I'm saying is I can't hold it against them because now they actually made a game. And if I stick to what I always say, make a game, sell a game, they've done that. How it got made behind the scenes is none of my business as long as day one it comes out and it's a game. It should be judged on what the game is, not what the game was. You see what I'm saying? So people play it today, people buy it today, people give reviews today. They'll play the game, they'll start giving reviews to it. It should be judged on what it is, not what it isn't or what it was. Krebsy says, I remember covering a story that Wayfinder devs couldn't refund people because they weren't the ones with the money and they didn't have the data to refund it or something along those lines. Yeah, we covered it earlier in the year. Okay. And I remember them saying that they couldn't refund it, and that's why they shut the stores down, because they didn't want anyone else to spend money on it. So they closed it down, kept it shut out for like 2 months, something like that, and then they reopened it for this version of the early access of this version of the game. Sarge says, I get it. They're trying to salvage the time they spent. Completely understand. Look, I'm going to call how I see it, right? I'm going to call CD Projekt Red and BioWare and Bethesda when they come out with games, and other companies that come out with games that are broke, buggy, and unfinished. This might be broke, buggy, and unfinished. I don't know. I haven't played it myself. But from what they told, what it was, to what they've completely changed it, if I got to give props to Fortnite from doing a complete 180 from the Save the World to Battle Royale, I don't like the Battle Royale because it's microtransaction hell. I got to give props to a company that went from everything was taken from them, and they turned it around and are trying to succeed with a game, make a game, sell a game. Imagine if some of these games that flopped went through this. Where would they be now? But you wouldn't even hear about them, right? Most of them you wouldn't even hear about. Totally forget about the refunds. Is this game free to the early access buyers? They did something. So if I remember correctly, because I remember listening to it, I would have to go back to our past broadcasts. I remember them talking about how they wanted to give the money back, but they couldn't give the money back, and they had to reach out to Digital Extremes, and they would find a way or whatever. This is why they took it down off the shop, so no one else could buy it, because it was going through them. They had no way of giving the money back. So I'm not sure if everyone got their money back. They had a choice, I guess. Roic says yes. You just have to do the update. Yeah, because they said they weren't in charge of the money. They had nothing from it. I would have to look it up on when we covered that. I want to say it was like February or March. Because I know we talked about it. Let me see if I can just scroll through and find it. Yeah, I want to say it was definitely before May. Next Gen, Star Wars, Helldivers. May 15th. I'm not sure if this is it. That's Suicide Squad. Yeah, early access. It's an early access game. It's not out. Okay, that's exactly right, Joe. I know you guys can't hear. I'm just looking at. Right. So they announced on May 15th, announcing Wayfinder Echoes, single player co-op, one price, $24.99, no microtransactions, in-game purchase, Wayfinder, weapons and armor drops, new zones, much more. Right. That's when they announced it to what they were changing. Then there was an interview we watched. I think there was an interview we watched that they talked about it. The developer came out and like talked about why and what happened. Eclipse says, yes, I didn't have to rebuy it. I did support them, and I bought it for a friend. And this is how you tip developers. Krebsy says, as November of 2023, Digital Extreme shut down their external project division to focus on Warframe and Soulframe. Yes, they said you couldn't access the Steam information, and it was separated or separate. During its time, it gave airship control of Wayfinder. Yeah, but I believe in this article, they didn't know it was happening. They were like blindsided by it, if I'm not mistaken. Currently, a free-to-play RPG developed by Airship and Syndicate is undergoing a pretty drastic change to upcoming Echo's path. Right now, it's a live service game with microtransactions, but soon it will continue to be RPG with no one in-game monetization. Yeah, I'd have to go back to that, but that was May 15th. May 15th. It just did an update. I'll be playing it soon. I'm pretty excited for it. Yeah, so it came out today. So we'll see. I mean, what was did they have any kind of let's see, Metacritic. Let's see if they had any kind of reviews before. No, it's to be decided. They didn't have anything for the early access. Let's go to Steam, check out Steam, see what they talk about there. Like, I enjoyed my time with it, but then I saw the microtransactions. I was like, no, I'm good. I'm glad they changed it. But now I'm going to wait for Xbox. So Wayfinder right now is at $22.49 with the 10% discount. Very positive. 299 recent reviews. Mixed. All reviews 19,321. Now I wonder if those mixed reviews were before it changed to a RPG or after. Guy played it for 11 hours, not recommended. It was on September 27th. I wanted to like this game, but the MMO bones are still too strong. Dungeon variety, enemy variety, weapon variety, and everything else is just lacking. Quests are tedious. One quest that had to be a joke had to be running one of the person's another to talk to them over 20 different times. The skill system is no different from MOBA system. The talent system is neat, but it also states beyond the perks of provide. Another person says, early access review. If you ever played Darksiders, this is a formerly MMO version of that, but everything is different degrees of worse. The visuals, the art style, and are great, and I have pretty much no complaints on the front aside from it sort of lacking character, I guess. It's also just too generic. A little too clean. Some more grittiness could go a long way. Another person that has issues with it had 5 hours. Well, that person had 11 hours. This person had 5 hours. I really wanted to recommend this game. It has a great art style. Combat is simple but fun. The bosses are very well designed and so on. However, Wayfinder is disgustingly bad framed lag. I used to have a weaker PC. He played on September 24th, just guys, let you guys know. The game can also freeze completely for up to a few seconds. The lowest graphics setting possible. I love that they also turned out the MMO into an offline co-op. This is incredible, dedicated to its fans. But this game needs optimization. So it's having optimization problems. So there you go. So if you're a person that Starship Troopers, I'm looking at you. Okay. Another person played 35.9 hours. He played 35 hours and can't recommend it. Wayfinder is interesting. First-person RPG. First-person FPS RPG. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, plagued by poor systems design, lack of variety, and forgettable story. It's the worst game out there. Not at all. Is it the worst game out there? Not at all. But it just doesn't really do anything special. The dungeon expeditions maps get reused. So once you've seen one or a few dungeons layouts, you'll know what they are. They're just reskinned over and over. The boss mechanics don't feel any different than any harder mobs, as many mechanics get reused. And also, way to power scaling isn't suited for a non-MMO character progression. Okay, another person. This one's going to be good. I got to read this one. This person put 169.7 hours into it. Not recommended. 169 hours. Not recommended. It says, I really love this game so much that I purchased the most expensive version of the Founders Pack. Performance is a bit better now, but Founders rewards are extremely lacking. I regret spending that much money on it. Well, first of all, if that's what you're advertising or reviewing and you're mad about because of extremely lacking and regret spending that much money, that just goes back to my number one point ever. Don't ever pre-order a fucking game. You'll take that completely out of your statement. Okay. It costs literally nothing to compensate us in the meaningful way. You only need to be enabled a flag in your systems to give anything else you like. Even worse, just 5 coins are not even enough to purchase all of the Founders items. Yeah, so this review seems more upset about the actual what happened after he purchased the stuff than the actual game itself. So, I mean, he goes on and writes a book. He says, I keep playing mostly because of the sunk cost fallacy. So now he's proving that he has an actual problem. Yes, I still have fun. I enjoy some of the experiences, but there is this looming shadow constantly souring my experience by not being appreciated as a founder. So there you go. So his review of 169.7 hours, not recommended, is because he doesn't feel special enough. Doesn't feel special enough. Nice. That there's not anything I read in the paragraph and a half about the game. The actual part of the game, like reviewing the game, not one of that parts is talking about the actual game. It's talking about everything else but the game. This is why I don't read reviews, right? This is why if a game looks interesting, you pick it up, not pre-order it. You pick it up after the fact, you play the game, and then you decide if you like the game or if you don't like the game. Robert Jones says, I used to laugh at those people that spend hundreds of hours and leave a negative review. That would be me off if I reviewed Ark Survival. Love the game, but can't recommend it. I got 400 hours. I could not stand here and tell you that I have 3,000 hours in Destiny, and I could say I don't recommend it for somebody. I would tell you what type of game it is, and if that's a game that sounds interesting to you, then go play it. You know what I mean? Man spent $150 and feels like they slipped it in. Yeah, like he feels screwed over. Like you purchased it. No one told you to buy a game a year ahead of time. And then another reason, people that pre-ordered Founders Pack, and then turmoil happened between now and last year where they had to completely flip-flop the game. So if you bought this game and thinking it was an MMO and now they switch it to a single-player game, you would probably want your money back, right? It's amazing. Don't pre-order games, folks. Don't pre-order a game. Now, obviously, I bought Towerborn early. Why? Why did I buy Towerborn early? Well, it was less than a fraction of the price of it's $5 more than a skin in Fortnite and $30 or $40 less than a full price, actually $50 less than a full price game. Okay. So like games like Towerborn or Wayfinder, if you get in for $22, $25 for a full-fledged game, by all means, go ahead and get in there early. Okay. But if you're paying $150 for a game that's not been proven, that's on you. That's on you. Roic says they're giving you the finished game for free and a few extra cosmetics. Right, if you are a pre-ordered person, right? If you're a founders pack person. Robert Jones says you can live your dinosaur Pokemon fantasy, but prepare for the bugs, and not only that kind of that crawl. Yeah, I mean, look at Starfield. I didn't purchase Starfield, right? And this is why a lot of people look at, and this is again, me and Sarge talk about this. This is not like the this shouldn't be a benefit of Game Pass, but it is, right? Game Pass games, if they're broke, buggy, or unfinished, you didn't pay full price for it, and there's plenty of other games that were finished that you could go play or not, right? But that's just it. The sunk cost fallacy. This person said, another person said it in the reviews. The reason they're playing is the sunk cost fallacy. They put so much time into it, they feel like they have to keep playing. Well, which one was the Travis emote? Oh, sniffing butts. I was trying to have dogs sniff each other's butts, and when I was trying to come up with something, I couldn't. So it's going to take me some time. Dolphin. Yeah, the dog sniffing butts. I got to come up with one. So, and I gotta add the one here for YouTube. I didn't add it to YouTube yet. I added it to Discord. I'll add that today. I'll do that after stream. Krebsy says reviewers should be forced to pay. I think so. I think so. I think reviewers should pay for the game. They get it 2 weeks early, but they have to pay for the game. You want to review the game? You give us money. Yeah, 100%. Actually, you know what? I can put that. I can put that emote in now. Let me get it. Let me get it for you. Oh, that's the wrong one. Close that. Get it right for you now. Let's get it in there. Perks. Emotes. Let's swap out because we didn't earn one yet. We still got time to earn one. Let's get rid of. Let's get rid of. Replace image. Gotta get rid of Deadpool or Deadshot, whatever. Deadpool. It's Deadshot. And there you go. 30. Characters are not allowed. What? Oh, because I 30 actually. There you go. If you refresh, it should be in there now. There you go. 30 actually. Sarge says if you're reviewing a game, you buy it. No codes, no gifts. Access Media. Altern says, I mean, that would give them a full customer's experience. They purchased the game and now they review it as if they spent that amount. And you'll also see how they some of those reviews change. Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% with it. You want to get early access and you just purchase the game. You put yourself in a list and they're like, hey, the game's coming out. You purchase the game. You give reviews 2 weeks ahead of early access or whatnot. That's it. Touch the power outlet one time and you won't touch it again. Spend $150 on a game and you won't do it again. No, it's not true. Krebsy, a lot of people continuously still do it. Well, actually, I think we'll get a lot of use of that that emote. Well, actually, it's time to go. So we'll be back tonight. I'm not sure what we'll be playing. Okay, I don't know what we'll be playing tonight, but we'll be back at 8 p.m. Eastern. If you guys like it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. We do appreciate you coming out. Today, we talked about Spider-Man. We talked about Nintendo. We talked about Star Citizen, and we watched a video of Wayfinder. You can watch this after the fact. There'll be timestamps below after about an hour or so after as I put them in. But other than that, you guys have a great rest of your day, afternoon, or evening. I'll see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. If I don't see you tonight, I'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock. Peace.